In a disorienting flash, he recalls being in his room, playing a game. The view abruptly changes to a sky filled with clouds above a dense forest. A young man, Suzumiya Kaide, voices his confusion about his sudden appearance in the woods. A flashback reveals the immensely popular MMORPG he was playing, Measured Online. He happily remembers finishing his university credits, planning to dedicate his time to the game. His memory turns to a grueling 3-day gaming marathon, fueled by a persistent headache. A mess of empty energy drink cans signifies the intensity of his nonstop session. His last conscious memory is of his body suddenly feeling light while in his chair. Back in the present, he feels a strange weightlessness, confused by his mundane clothes. He smiles with relief, quickly rationalizing the strange experience as just a dream. Chuckling, he assumes he passed out and feels a bit guilty for leaving his party. He stumbles upon a grisly scene, a large, six-legged wolf feeding on a carcass. Still believing he's dreaming, he observes the creature from a safe distance with curiosity. He calmly notes the beast's unusual 6 limbs, a detail that doesn't alarm him. With detached amusement, he incorrectly identifies the monstrous creature as a dog. The wolf finally notices him, its face contorting into a vicious, threatening snarl. In a blur of motion, the 6-legged beast lunges at him with incredible speed. After effortlessly dodging, he wonders if his gamer reflexes are bleeding into his dream. A manic smirk spreads across his face as he muses on this real-life status abnormality. A game-like status screen suddenly materializes before him, causing him to recoil in shock. He realizes with disbelief that the screen appeared in direct response to his thoughts. His face is a mask of pure confusion as he stares at the glowing, digital interface. His initial shock gives way to intense focus as he begins to analyze the screen. Examining his stats, he questions why his MP is so disproportionately high. As if on cue, an information panel pops up to explain the world's MP mechanics. The text details how magic consumes MP, which then regenerates naturally over time. He learns the average human's MP is a mere 10, confirming his own is abnormal. He tries to rationalize the strangeness, clinging to the idea that it's all a dream. His eyes fall upon a peculiar skill listed on his status. Otherworlder. An info box explains the skill's power is linked to his status in his previous world. The text emphasizes that his power level is determined by his former world's rank. He struggles to maintain his belief that this is a dream against mounting evidence. To test his senses, he reaches out and places his hand on a large tree trunk. The solid, real texture confirms his growing fear that this world is not a dream. His thoughts are shattered by a growl. The wolf has returned, now with a small pack. The lead wolf's eyes glow with predatory hunger as it fixes its gaze on him. He recognizes the 6-legged creature, his earlier amusement now replaced with alarm. Deciding to run, he thinks that even for a dream, this situation is too frightening. He is shocked by his own explosive speed, realizing it's a passive skill effect. His panic returns as he sees the wolves are just as fast, making his escape futile. He cries out as a greenish-hued wolf snaps aggressively at his heels during the chase. A brief panel of the sky marks a tense pause in the desperate, high-speed pursuit. With a powerful leap he didn't know he possessed, he scrambles up a large tree. The lead wolf circles the base of the tree, growling in frustration at its prey. Safely perched on a branch, he marvels at his enhanced jumping ability, feeling relieved. Knowing he must escape, he summons his status screen, searching for a useful skill. High in the tree, he focuses on his information analysis skill, seeking a solution. He deduces that the appraisal ability must be a more powerful version of analysis. An idea strikes him. Perhaps he can use the skill without direct physical contact. He extends his hand, mentally activating appraisal and targeting the wolf below. The skill locks onto the creature, initiating a scan to gather its information. A status window for the green wolf appears, revealing its F rank and statistics. He smirks, noting its attack power and deciding a direct confrontation is unwise. He reviews his other abilities, considering his aptitudes for magic and martial arts. Realizing he has no weapons or spells, he wonders if there's another option. He navigates his menu to the Items tab, discovering a new function. He is stunned to see a pop-up inventory screen, a feature he hadn't anticipated. A bead of sweat drips down his face as the implication of this discovery sinks in. His inventory shows he has 0 out of a possible 1,012 item slots available. An ecstatic grin erupts on his face as he realizes he has a functional item box. He accepts that even if he doesn't know the rules, this world has its own logic. His thoughts turn to magic, wondering if it requires a verbal chant to activate. He shouts spell names at the wolves below, but his words have no effect. Concentrating, he manages to summon a small, unstable flame in his palm. The flickering flame crackles erratically, on the verge of extinguishing itself. As the flame dies out, he slumps back in disappointment at the failed attempt. A sudden epiphany strikes him. Magic activation might require a strong mental image. A determined, almost crazed grin appears as he grasps this new, powerful concept. He leaps from the safety of the branch, eager to test his theory in battle. A memory of the excitement of gaming flashes, a feeling he hasn't had in years. In midair, he visualizes a large, stable fireball, gathering immense magical energy. He decides this exciting situation is too good to waste by holding anything back. With a powerful thrust, he unleashes the fully formed fireball at the green wolf. His face is a mask of pure exhilaration as he lets out a triumphant shout. The green wolf looks up, its eyes wide with shock as the spell descends. His spell manifests as a massive ethereal wolf made of pure, white-hot flame. The fiery wolf construct lunges, instantly engulfing its real-life target in the inferno. The attack culminates in a massive, swirling explosion of fire and dark energy. Kaidi stands before the smoldering, blackened crater left in the explosion's wake. He looks at the scorched earth, confirming to himself that the monster is defeated. A wave of relief and triumph washes over him as he clenches his fist tightly. His victorious expression is suddenly replaced by one of wide-eyed utter shock. He lets out a jubilant shout, pumping his arms in a moment of pure adrenaline. His celebration is cut short by a new startling development that catches him off guard. A translucent blue status screen materializes, responding to his outstretched hand. He realizes he has leveled up, noting his massive MP increase and a new fire skill. His attention is drawn to a new problem. The fire from his spell is now spreading. He frantically looks for a river or any source of water to put out the blaze. A desperate idea hits him. He realizes he can use magic to create water. He focuses his will, visualizing a powerful torrent like that from a fire hose. A powerful jet of water erupts from his hands, dousing the spreading flames. A notification confirms he has learned water magic as he stands over the sodden earth. He is confused that his MP barely dropped, concluding it must be a low-cost skill. Kneeling, he summons his storage, the inventory screen appearing in a shimmer of pixels. He sees he has acquired 2 new items from the battle, letting out a satisfied sigh. He sits quietly in the forest for a moment, letting the reality of his situation sink in. Looking up with a small smile, he finally accepts that this is not a dream. His thoughts turn to the isekai transmigration trope he often read about in novels. He reflects on his lonely life back on Earth, having no family to return to. Knowing he can't go back, he resolves to move forward in this strange new world. Having accepted his fate, Kaidi resolves that if he cannot return, he will enjoy this new world. His peaceful resolution is shattered by a piercing scream echoing through the forest. The sudden cry startles him, making him wonder if someone else is nearby. With an expression of alarm, he immediately rushes towards the source of the sound. He discovers a covered wagon in a clearing, besieged by a pack of vicious wolves. 2 guards fight desperately, one grunting with effort as a wolf lunges at him. A guard grimly identifies the monstrous creatures as formidable green wolves. Kaidi's face hardens with the realization that he must provide immediate support. He quickly assesses the battlefield, knowing his magic is either too weak or too dangerous. Crouching low, he places a hand on the earth, visualizing a new kind of spell. He then thrusts his other hand forward, commanding a rock spear to strike a wolf. A system window flashes, confirming the successful activation of his earth magic. The massive, jagged spear of rock erupts from the ground, striking the surprised beast. With a pained yelp, the wolf is thrown violently into the air by the impact. He observes that the spear shattered, realizing his spell lacks sufficient strength. A close-up on his eye reveals his focused and determined mindset despite the setback. The remaining wolves turn their attention to him, snarling with predatory intent. One of the beasts lowers its stance, preparing to charge the new threat. A fierce grin spreads across his face. His diversion has successfully bought them time. His foot plants firmly on the ground as he braces for the next move. The 2 guards seize the opportunity, launching a powerful, coordinated counterattack. Kaidi watches their successful maneuver with a look of surprise and approval. The final wolf is struck down decisively by the guards' combined assault. One guard shouts to the other, telling him to help finish off the last large beast. They leap and charge in unison, striking their target from 2 different angles. After the battle, Kaidi emerges from the tree line to meet the exhausted survivors. He makes a small sound of acknowledgement as he cautiously approaches them. The older guard turns and offers his sincere thanks for the life-saving support. The younger guard notes Katie's lack of gear, questioning his presence in the forest. Katie feigns amnesia, deciding to stick with the story of waking up lost. The younger guard insists that regardless of the circumstances, Katie is their savior. An older man, a merchant, appears from the wagon to express his profound gratitude. The merchant introduces himself as Karek, and Katie gives his full name in return. The men react with visible surprise upon hearing his family name, Suzumiya. Katie looks confused, not understanding their shocked reaction to his name. Karek offers to help, asking if the amnesiac Katie has any money or identification. He presents a pouch of coins as a reward and for guild registration fees. Katie accepts the money, his hands filled with unfamiliar, sparkling coins. He asks if they are silver coins, wondering if the amount will be enough. A woman's voice off-screen asks if he has forgotten even the currency. A young blonde woman gracefully introduces herself as Salier from the Einhin Guild. The wagon wheel begins to rumble, signaling the start of their journey to town. Inside the wagon, Sally begins to explain their current location to an attentive Kaidi. A detailed map shows the walled town of Einhin and the vast forest to its south. Sally continues her briefing, explaining the hierarchy of the world's currency. She concludes her explanation, stating that this information should suffice for now. Kaidi expresses his gratitude as an apple tumbles from a nearby crate. Karek remarks on their heavy cargo, wondering why they don't use an item box. He explains that the rare skill requires an aptitude for magic to use. Kaidi realizes his own aptitude for magic is the reason he possesses the ability. He recalls his information manipulation skill and decides to hide his rarer powers. A mental image shows him selecting which of his powerful skills to conceal. The group finally arrives, their wagon passing through the large main gate of Einhin. A stone sign bears the name of the town, carved in an unfamiliar script. A stern-looking guard halts their progress, demanding to see their identification. Sally steps forward to explain that Kaidi does not possess any identification. The guard states a deposit is required and instructs Kaidi to touch a device. Sally explains the device is a magic tool used to appraise and identify thieves. She reassures him that the deposit will be fully refunded at the Adventurers Guild. Kaidi thanks her for her kindness as he places his hand on the appraisal tool. The device activates, displaying his full name, Suzumiya Kaide, and other stats. The guard asks if Kaidi can read the text, confirming his language skill is working. He notes that Kaidi's speech is being translated, meaning there are no issues. The guard's professional demeanor shatters as he shouts in shock about the last name. Kaidi and Sally are startled, wondering what caused the guard's sudden outburst. He realizes with dawning horror that having a last name is highly unusual here. The appraisal has exposed a critical cultural difference. Only nobles have family names. A quick appraisal of the guard, Guido and Sari confirms they lack last names. Kaidi's face shows his alarm as he confirms he's the only one with a surname. His hand moves with purpose as he prepares to defuse the dangerous situation. He calmly tells the others he will show his status to clear up the confusion. Using his skill, he alters the display to show only his first name, Kaidi. The guard stares, utterly confused, muttering that the family name has vanished. Kaidi smiles sheepishly, claiming it was a misreading, relieved his skill worked. He makes a firm resolution to be far more careful about using his name in this world. They soon arrive at the large, impressive building of the Adventurers Guild. Inside the bustling hall, Sari stands behind the counter, ready to register him. She thanks him for his earlier help and explains the guild registration requirements. Kaidi reflects that he must earn money in order to survive in this new world. Sari presents a small box, instructing him to touch the appraisal device. A magical projection reveals a detailed list of his magical and martial aptitudes. Sari thanks him politely as she takes the now glowing registration box from him. Her eyes suddenly widen in pure shock and disbelief at what she has just seen. He asks what's wrong, but she quickly dismisses it, stammering that it's nothing. Composing herself, she prepares to explain the important details of the guild card. She holds up the ornate, newly minted card, telling him to listen very carefully. She points out his name and explains the adventurer ranking system from G to S. She continues, detailing the rules for rank progression and the possibility of demotion. He listens intently as she explains the bounty section is essentially for thieves. A text bubble explains that those who commit evil deeds are branded as thieves. Sari clarifies that quest and subjugation histories are automatically updated. With a cheerful smile, she adds that killing an opponent in a duel is permitted. Kaidi is visibly disturbed by the casual mention of sanctioned duels to the death. Sari holds the card, beginning her final and most serious warning. She warns with a bright, sparkling smile that forging a card is punishable by death. He is visibly frightened by her intense and menacing smile. She asks if he has any questions, and he meekly replies that he understands. His expression is somber as she officially declares him an adventurer of the guild. She smiles warmly, expressing high hopes for his career as he thanks her. As Kaidi walks away, Sari watches him go, her expression thoughtful and serious. A guild receptionist teases her blushing colleague Sari about being flustered by a man. Alone at her desk, Sari is lost in her own thoughts, ignoring her surroundings. Her face erupts in a joyous blush as she clenches her fists, thinking she's found him. She reflects on how Kaidi felt fundamentally different, as if from another world entirely. His unprecedented combination of aptitude for magic and aptitude for martial arts amazed her. She recalls his handsome face and how he listened so seriously to her long explanation. Overcome with emotion, she declares Kaidi is her destined person, ignoring her coworkers' calls. An exterior view shows the quiet street in front of the inn where Kaidi is staying. Inside, Kaidi lies exhausted on the bed, thinking the room is nice for its price. He feels completely drained, not physically, but from the day's overwhelming events. Idly, he summons his item box, noting with satisfaction how well organized it is. His expression becomes serious as he contemplates the challenges of his new life. His mind replays the recent wolf attack, a reminder of how easily he could have died. Lying in the dark, he resolves to be far more cautious in this dangerous world. As dawn breaks, he stares out the window, wondering if he can truly succeed here. The next morning, Kaidi stretches in the street, ready to start a new day. A delicious aroma wafts by, and he realizes with a pang that he is starving. Following the scent, he finds an inviting establishment and pushes open the door. A woman in a frilly maid's uniform offers a booming, cheerful welcome. An energetic elf maid greets him as the first customer of the day, asking for his order. Kaidi is completely frozen, his mind reeling in shock at the sight of elf maids. Later, another elf maid assures him that everything on the menu is delicious. Seated with the menu, he blushes, excited by the presence of real elves. He feels any lingering anxiety about this new world has completely vanished. Watching a maid work, he vows to enjoy his new life to the fullest. Having finished his meal, he is seen off by two smiling maids who thank him. Outside, he stretches, deciding his next goal is to get a quest and a weapon. He contemplates his lack of money and tries to figure out the way to the guild. His search for the guild leads him through the city's winding, unfamiliar rooftops. Slumped in a dark alley, he admits to himself that he is completely lost. The gloomy, oppressive atmosphere of the back streets makes him feel uneasy. Deciding to ask for directions, he approaches a heavy, unfamiliar wooden door. He knocks on the door, calling out a tentative, "Excuse me." A stern-looking wolfman opens the door, gruffly asking who sent him. Kaidi is visibly startled by the unexpected appearance of the beastman. From the shadows, a short, stocky dwarf emerges behind the wolfman. The dwarf skeptically asks how he got lost, as Kaidi tries to explain his situation. Inside the weapon shop, the smith tells him to leave if he isn't buying anything. A close-up reveals the gleaming shields and swords displayed on the walls. Kaidi grins, stating that while he has no love for weapons, he is certainly interested. The smith bluntly asks how much money he has to spend on their wares. He confidently states he has 1,300 to tell and plans to earn more soon. The smith scoffs, noting his surprisingly practiced stance for an untrained person. Kaidi is shocked that the smith could discern his aptitude for martial arts so easily. He explains his amnesia and his need for a weapon to survive in this world. His expression is slightly embarrassed as he recounts his strange circumstances. He wonders to himself if he will truly be able to grow stronger here. The smith offers to craft him a sword and shield, but lays out a strict policy. He explains he only sells his creations to those he deems worthy to wield them. He saw the potential in Kaidi to become a true swordsman, which is why he helped. Kaidi agrees to the terms, and the smith gruffly tells him not to die. After Kaidi leaves, the smith lets out a puff of air, the door closing with a slam. Just before departing, Kaidi asks the smith for directions to the Adventurers Guild. He opens the door to find a group of adventurers, including Sari, standing right there. Now at the guild's reception desk, Kaidi tells Sari he wishes to accept a quest. She points him towards the massive quest board on the far wall of the guild hall. He is instructed to take a request slip from the board and bring it to her. As a new G-rank adventurer, his options are limited to simple, low-level tasks. Sari suggests he take the herb-gathering quest for a plant called Zunana grass. She explains the herb is a valuable ingredient for medicine, but its supply is very low. The plant itself is common, but it's difficult to find among a poisonous look-alike. Finding the herb is mostly a matter of pure luck, which keeps its price from being too high. Kaidi ponders the luck-based nature of the quest as his item box interface appears. A close-up shows a detailed pixelated image of the Zunana grass in his inventory. He pulls out a glowing sprig, asking Sari if this is the correct plant for the quest. With her confirmation, he smiles confidently and heads out to the forest to begin. He arrives at a sun-dappled clearing at the edge of the woods, ready to search. His hand hovers over the undergrowth as he begins his hunt for the elusive herb. After a long and fruitless search, he stands dejected, having found nothing. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he realizes he's only found the poisonous look-alike. He examines the useless poisonous plant, Dokuzuna grass, with a disdainful look. An information box explains that the plant causes only mild, non-lethal poison effects. An idea strikes him. He decides to use his unique information analysis skill. He closes his eyes and concentrates, attempting to use the skill like a radar. A soft pop sounds in his mind, and he instinctively turns his head to the side. He begins his analysis, the plant dissolving into particles of digital data. He spots a small, glowing triangular marker hovering mysteriously over some weeds. Puzzled by the strange new indicator, he moves closer to investigate. He reaches into the weeds, his hand going directly to the spot the marker indicated. His eyes widen in utter shock and disbelief at what he finds there. He holds up a perfect sprig of Zunana grass, amazed that it suddenly appeared. He realizes his skill must only react to targets that are outside his direct line of sight. A single glowing marker appears high up in the branches of a nearby tree. He activates the skill again, casting his awareness over the entire surrounding area. Dozens upon dozens of glowing triangular markers materialize all at once in the field. A wide, triumphant, and slightly manic grin spreads across his face in the discovery. A guildswoman stares in disbelief at an enormous, chaotic bundle of thorny weeds. She asks if Mysterious also brought the poisonous Dulkazunana weeds with him. He smugly explains he followed the rules, collecting only the specimens over 15 centimeters. The flustered woman tells him to wait and hurries away with the massive bundle. The door slams shut behind her as she leaves to process the unusual delivery. A close-up shows her wide, shocked eyes as she tries to make sense of the situation. She returns, demanding to know how he gathered hundreds of the Zunana weeds. He feigns ignorance, claiming he just has a knack for finding them by looking from afar. She insists his claim is impossible and demands to know the nature of his appraisal skill. He explains his appraisal skill doesn't appear on his status, suggesting it's unlisted. Her expression is a mixture of deep suspicion and grudging confusion. Regaining her professional composure, she apologizes for the commotion she caused. She concedes that some skills are unlisted and thanks him for the herbs. The woman dismisses him, calling him by the name Mysterious as he departs. The sound of a hammer echoes from a stone blacksmith shop on a cobblestone street. A young man, Kaidi, cheerfully announces his arrival, stating his purpose is to buy a shield. Inside the rustic workshop, a burly, bearded dwarf blacksmith looks up from his work. The blacksmith bellows loudly, clearly annoyed by the sudden interruption. He gruffly tells the startled Kaidi to be quiet and wait for him to finish. While he waits, Kaidi's attention is captured by a stone tablet covered in runes. Studying the inscription, he wonders aloud if the dwarf's name is Dverger. The rhythmic clang of the hammer on metal fills the air as Kaidi watches. Dverger works with intense concentration, shaping a piece of glowing hot steel. Sparks fly with every powerful impact of the hammer against the anvil. With the shaping complete, the blacksmith prepares to cool the metal in a trough. A massive cloud of steam erupts with a loud hiss as he quenches the hot steel. Kaidi observes the process, a slightly puzzled look on his face. Taking a seat, the blacksmith, Dverger, announces that the job is now finished. He asks if Kaidi has the money, adding that his ability to use magic makes him useful. Dverger explains that for a magic user with an aptitude for martial arts, a staff isn't necessary. A surprised Kaidi asks if a staff is still needed even with an aptitude for magic. The dwarf elaborates that casting spells while moving is impossible without a staff's focus. Kaidi reflects that the speed of a spell, not its power, is the most crucial factor. Thinking of his own magic, he concludes its speed is already practical for combat. He muses that he should probably buy a staff for close-quarter situations anyway. Dverger warns him not to get careless, as talent can often lead to a swift death. A small smile appears on Kaidi's face as he notes the blacksmith's subtle kindness. Dverger presents a newly forged round buckler shield, startling Kaidi. The blacksmith watches him with a stern, appraising expression. Kaidi tests the shield's weight, finding it a bit heavy but solid and reliable. His gaze wanders over to a workbench laden with various tools and materials. Beaming with satisfaction, Katie asks for the smith's opinion on the new shield. Dverger confirms it fits like a part of his body, and Kaidi admires his skill. Kaidi hesitates for a moment, holding the shield over the quenching trough. He then brings up the sword Dverger was working on, asking if he has a request. Kaidi expresses his curiosity, wondering why the blacksmith didn't quench the blade. Looking irritated, Dverger asks what he is getting at with his questions. The ground around the forge is shown to be littered with shattered rocks. Dverger confirms the standard process of heating and rapidly cooling metal to harden it. A dynamic panel shows the metal shattering upon being struck by the hammer. The smith complains that the metal is already warped and its hardness won't change. A close-up reveals the blade breaking into multiple sharp fragments. The dwarf roars in frustration, exclaiming that the metal is supposed to be durable. Kaidi watches the unexpected result with a look of shock. Dverger's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated frustration at his failure. He explains that he understands iron gets harder depending on the forging method. Dverger worries that any change will only make the metal more brittle and prone to breaking. Kaidi offers a theory, suggesting slower cooling at a lower temperature might soften it. Intrigued, Dverger asks how Kaidi knows this, calling the idea fascinating. He suddenly closes the shop, insisting Kaidi stay and help him research the new method. Dverger declares he will forge him a fine sword as part of their experiment. With a sly smile, Kaidi thinks that there's no manual for this kind of interaction. He accepts the sudden partnership with a small, knowing expression. He decides to go along with the dwarf's enthusiastic plan because it seems fun. The following day, Kaidi is seen walking through the town's bustling streets. He resolves to investigate the local adventurers to gather more information. Using his skills, he observes their statuses. Finding the highest level is only around 30. He is surprised to find that no one possesses any rare skills or aptitudes. While exploring the market, he happily eats a loaf of green wolf bread. A distant view shows a horse-drawn carriage leaving the walled city. He reflects on how this world's water magically cleans his clothes with a simple rinse. Despite this convenience, he feels a wave of nostalgia for a proper bath. Looking at the sky, he admits that he misses his original world. In the forest, his hand is shown holding a sprig of Zunana grass. As dust settles, a magical triangular object in his hand dissolves into pixels. He realizes he got too engrossed in gathering herbs and decides it's time to leave. A sudden sharp rustling from a nearby bush puts him on high alert. His expression shifts to one of alarm as he senses an imminent danger. A monstrous green wolf lunges from the shadows, its maw wide in a ferocious roar. Thrown backward, he realizes with a jolt that he has ventured too deep into the forest. He quickly scrambles into a defensive stance, his new shield held ready. With a sharp, focused gaze, he prepares to intercept the creature as it lands. He unleashes a fireball spell, sending a fiery projectile streaking toward the wolf. His face is set with grim concentration as he watches his magic fly true. The fireball connects, engulfing two of the wolves in a brilliant explosion. Two more wolves, wreathed in smoke and flame, emerge to continue the attack. Kaidi braces himself as more dark shapes appear from the surrounding tree line. Glancing over his shoulder, he finds himself completely surrounded by the snarling pack. The alpha wolf lets out a powerful growl, leading the charge towards him. Kaidi's expression becomes grim and determined as he prepares for the onslaught. He unleashes another massive fireball, blasting a group of the charging wolves. Amidst the chaos, he realizes he has leveled up, with only two foes remaining. He spots one of the surviving wolves but realizes with shock that there's only one. The second wolf ambushes him from a tree branch directly above his head. His eyes widen in horror as he screams a mental warning to himself about the threat from above. The wolf sinks its teeth deep into his shoulder, and he cries out in agony. The remaining wolves close in, sensing their prey is wounded and vulnerable. A moment of clarity and resolve washes over him amidst the searing pain. He remembers that a clear and powerful image is necessary to activate his magic. Slamming his hand to the ground, he bellows a mental command to create it. He visualizes a defensive attack that will strike in all directions simultaneously. A massive eruption of jagged rock spikes bursts forth from the earth around him. One of the lunging wolves is impaled midair by a colossal rock spear. The sharp stone spikes shatter upon impact, finding their targets. The remaining wolves collapse to the ground, their bodies twitching in their final moments. A close-up shows a dying wolf, its life fading from its eyes. Standing amidst the carnage, Kaidi admits his own naivety almost cost him his life. He breathes a sigh of relief, acknowledging that it was a dangerously close call. Back at the guild, a group of adventurers stares in utter shock at something off-panel. The receptionist, Caddy, is completely buried under an enormous pile of Suzuna grass. She complains about the 692 stalks, while the young man teasingly asks if she's happy. Composing herself, she asks if he spent the entire day gathering the herbs. He confirms this with a smile, casually mentioning he was attacked by a pack of wolves. She is immediately alarmed, but he reassures her that he handled 5 of them with his magic. The guild receptionist, Kaidi, stares in disbelief, questioning how a single magic user could fight an entire group. The adventurer, also Kaidi, looks puzzled and explains his simple fighting style of dodging and shield bashing. His answer leaves the receptionist utterly speechless, her face a blank mask of astonishment. She regains her composure, insisting his method is not normal, as mages must stand still to concentrate. He appears surprised by this rule, vaguely recalling that a man named Verger had mentioned something similar. Still concerned for his well-being, she offers to call a healer for him, but he calmly insists he is fine. With a newly serious expression, he concludes that he must learn much more about this world's magic. He reflects on his vast MP and rapid regeneration, realizing he needs stronger magic and healing abilities. A surge of determination fills him as he clenches his fist, resolving to develop his own magic. A confident, almost cunning smirk appears as he declares his new goal, to become a magic swordsman. He returns to the quiet of the forest, ready to begin his magical experiments and put his new plan into action. He decides to start by developing the perception magic that he currently lacks, his greatest weakness. His first idea is to visualize using his magic to sense his surroundings, like an extension of his own body. Standing before a large gnarled tree, he prepares to conduct his initial test. Focusing his will, he attempts to extend his magical power in a straight, concentrated line from his hand. A chaotic surge of black, pixelated energy erupts from his palm, rocketing towards the distant tree. The uncontrolled energy makes contact with the tree trunk in a burst of digital-like particles. He lets out a small sound of surprise as a new and unexpected sensation floods his mind. An excited, wide-eyed grin spreads across his face as he feels the tree's bark, as if he were touching it. Bolstered by this success, he decides to push the ability further, expanding the range of his new perception. The world around him seems to react, shimmering as his magical senses spread through the forest. His mind is instantly flooded with sensory information from every object in the vicinity. His eye widens in shock at the overwhelming amount of unfiltered data pouring into his consciousness. He stumbles back, clutching his head as visions of animals, plants, and rocks overwhelm his senses. His face contorts in a grimace of mental strain as all the information pours into his head at once. He cries out that the technique in this state is completely and utterly useless for combat. He collapses to the ground, disheveled and reeling from the intense mental overload. With a wry smirk, he acknowledges that the technique is a jumbled mess and impossible to use in a fight. He analyzes the failure, realizing the raw data is being sent to his brain without any processing. He has a breakthrough, understanding he can use his magic to touch and analyze information from objects directly. Sitting on the forest floor, he tries a new approach, focusing his intent on a specific organized output. He is amazed to see his magic automatically changing shape to match his visualization. A simple wireframe map appears in his vision, but he notes that it lacks detailed information. A new idea strikes him, and he decides to try overlapping the map with the shape of his magic. His face lights up with a brilliant, triumphant grin as a sophisticated radar display materializes, now complete. He reflects on his new perception magic, a complex spell composed of 19 individual feelers. Feeling confident, he believes that with this new ability, he won't be caught by surprise again. His thoughts turn to Diverger's offer to temper his sword, and he decides to visit the workshop later. He walks down a quiet cobblestone street lined with timber frame buildings, heading towards the blacksmith's shop. Arriving at the forge, he offers a polite greeting and asks about the sword tempering. Diverger, the burly blacksmith, gives a gruff confirmation that he can certainly do it. Inside the workshop, Diverger explains that further tempering would be pointless due to the blade's high-quality materials. He clarifies that the special charcoal steel used doesn't benefit much from additional tempering. Diverger's tone shifts as he asks about the sword he had mentioned the previous day, his masterpiece. He presents a magnificent, newly forged B-rank sword, proudly declaring it ready for use. With an intense, challenging gaze, the blacksmith urges him to give the new weapon a swing. Kaidi hesitates, accepting the sword while confessing that he doesn't know how to handle it properly. He mutters to himself that he doesn't know the correct way to swing a sword. As he holds the weapon, an innate power seems to awaken deep within him. In a blur of motion, his body moves on its own, executing a perfect, powerful downward slash. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes his body moved completely naturally without his conscious control. Diverger observes that his movements are too polished, suggesting he was once a swordsman who lost his memories. Kaidi smiles, agreeing that he feels he could become strong quickly, thanks to his aptitude for martial arts. He finds the sword remarkably easy to handle and asks if he can purchase it, which Diverger allows. Verger's expression turns serious as he asks if Kaidi was secretly skilled all along and requests to be taught the form. Kaidi smiles calmly, stating that techniques are meant to be used and that he has no reason to be secretive. Verger seems impressed by his wisdom, offering his help for anything Kaidi might need in the future. The blacksmith's gaze narrows as a new thought suddenly occurs to him. He notes that Kaidi isn't wearing a shield and asks if it's because he's a magic user. Kaidi is flustered, realizing with a sweat drop that he'd been so satisfied with his shield he completely forgot it. Sidestepping the question, he says he's looking for some light armor that won't impede his movements. Diverger explains that while his shop only deals in plate armor, he knows a good leather worker. Kaidi is pleased, confident that a recommendation from Diverger will lead him to a skilled artisan. He sets off through the town streets, wondering if the leather worker is also a dwarf. A small bell announces his arrival at the shop, where a cheerful young woman greets him warmly. He smiles, confirming he's a customer and mentioning that Diverger recommended the shop for armor. The shopkeeper is shocked, questioning why Diverger would recommend a new adventurer like him. Her eyes are then drawn to the new sword hanging at his side, its craftsmanship catching her attention. She remarks on its design, asking if she can have a closer look at the weapon. After marveling at its quality, she grabs a piece of scrap leather to test its sharpness. She tosses the leather scrap into the air with a casual flick of her wrist. With a swift, decisive motion, she slices the scrap cleanly in two, much to Kata's alarm. She exclaims how incredibly sharp the sword is, while he asks if it was really all right to do that. He notes the lack of other customers as she smiles, a brilliant realization dawning on her. She becomes convinced he must be the master craftsman Diverger had spoken of, a sword she's never seen the like of. Kaidi is left utterly bewildered by her enthusiastic praise and mistaken identity. She insists such a fine sword must be paired with fine armor and offers to craft a set for him. He turns his attention to the materials on the wall as she points out a tough-looking hide. She explains the hide is Galgan leather, offering good defense but restricting movement, a personal favorite of hers. She then points out a cheaper green wolf hide, noting its lack of special properties. She warns that it's particularly weak to fire magic, making it a poor choice for serious battles. When he asks about other materials, she explains that for now, Galgan is their only real option. She pats him on the back, telling him not to worry about the cost for a beginner's set. Kaidi glances aside, his attention caught by another item displayed in the shop. His gaze falls on a full set of armor on a mannequin, and he asks if it's also armor. The shopkeeper looks slightly embarrassed as she confirms that it is indeed armor. She explains it was a prototype designed to be magically enhanced but proved too inefficient, reverting to normal clothing after 30 minutes. Kaidi is intrigued, feeling as though the armor, which uses magic for defense, was made specifically for him. He focuses his intent, activating his appraisal skill on the prototype armor. A system window appears, displaying the armor's stats and functions. He learns it consumes 10 mana per hour, a rate far slower than his own natural recovery. He asks about its defensive power, and she replies that it's slightly stronger than Galgan leather. She seems hesitant, admitting that she can't honestly recommend it and asking if he's truly sure. With a confident smile, he decides he'll try it, promising to buy a new set if it fails. The shopkeeper is stunned for a moment before breaking into a huge, delighted grin. She enthusiastically agrees to the sale, handing him a tag for the purchase. With the transaction settled, she tells him the armor will be ready by the following evening. As he turns to leave, he asks what else her shop sells, mentioning he also needs a staff. She begins to suggest the magic shop next door, but cuts herself off as a new idea strikes her. With a deep, grinding rumble, the entire wall of her shop begins to slide away. With a deep, grinding rumble, the massive wall of the armor shop slides away. A small witch appears in the opening, asking if she was summoned, startling Kaidi. The armor maker yells at the witch, telling her not to connect their shops without permission. Kaidi looks on, his expression one of pure, wide-eyed amazement at the spectacle. The witch stands confidently, exuding the powerful and impressive aura of a skilled magic user. She turns to Kaidi, noting he must be the one introduced by the famous Dverger. With a mischievous grin, she playfully grabs the armor maker's head. The witch eagerly announces that her shop has plenty to offer and leads them away. Kaidi's face is a mask of pure shock and awe as he is led into the new area. They enter a vast magical hall with grand staircases and enchanted lanterns floating like stars. He can only stammer, overwhelmed by the incredible and otherworldly sight. Standing proudly in the center of her magnificent shop, the witch addresses her new customer. Surrounded by countless magical staffs, she asks what kind he is hoping to find. He asks about their differences, and she explains that a staff's length affects magic speed. A hand is shown gripping a sleek black staff, extending its glowing tip with a soft click. She explains that her own long staff increases her magic speed tenfold for dungeon use. A brilliant idea about his own magic suddenly sparks in Kaidi's mind. He excitedly asks if a staff that can triple one's speed even exists. The witch and the armor maker are both taken aback by his strange question. Flustered, she explains that such a staff would be far too unwieldy to be practical. Sally then clarifies that her versatile staff also serves as a sword and a shield. The witch blushes slightly at the mention of a sword and shield combination. Kaidi, intrigued, promises to make her one by the next day, just for fun. He reflects on how rare a magic sword must be in this unfamiliar world. He sees no problem with crafting it if she can provide the necessary materials. Overjoyed, Sally asks with sparkling eyes if he will truly carve the wood for her. She bounces with excitement, saying she doesn't understand but is happy. She declares that she is looking forward to the equipment fitting that evening. The scene transitions to the exterior of the large, sturdy Adventurers Guild building. Inside, the receptionist, Kaidi, greets him and brings up the matter of his rank up. She explains his performance on recent quests was deemed more than sufficient for promotion. For a first rank up, she clarifies, a broad range of mundane quest experience is required. He understands the logic behind the system and agrees with it. He stands before the massive quest board, considering which job to take next. He wonders what G-rank miscellaneous quests are currently available for him to choose from. His eyes scan over simple tasks like garbage disposal and luggage transport. After a moment of thought, his expression shows he has found a suitable quest. With a confident smile, he plucks a slip from the board and presents it. The receptionist sighs, thinking to herself that he has once again chosen a peculiar request. The quest is for transporting iron ore, an unpopular job with a low reward. She gently questions his choice, noting that other jobs are far easier for the pay. He confidently states that he'll be fine because he possesses an item box. His casual confidence seems to surprise the receptionist. She becomes curious and asks how an item box's storage capacity is determined. He processes the information, realizing his capacity is linked to his initial MP of 1012. He becomes curious about how much weight his item box can actually hold. Believing the quest is a treasure trove of opportunity, he thanks her and departs. In a wide grassy field, a small, fluffy, rabbit-like creature snoozes peacefully. Kaida runs at an incredible speed, the small creature easily keeping pace beside him. He muses that he could probably beat an Olympian, his speed a steady 20 kilometers per hour. Thanks to his recent level up, he can now run all day without any fatigue. He spots his destination in the distance and brings his run to a halt. The scene shifts to a rustic, muddy mining operation with wooden fences. He approaches a mustachioed man, explaining he's from the guild for the transport quest. The man verifies his guild card and confirms that the request is valid. He gestures to a colossal pile of iron ore and tells Kaid to take it. In a wide shot, the client sizes up the young adventurer with a skeptical look. The client silently observes, thinking to himself that Kaide looks rather weak. A deep, powerful rumbling sound suddenly begins to fill the air. The client's face contorts in pure, unadulterated shock at the strange noise. The entire ore pile dissolves into a vortex of light, vanishing into Kaide. The man stammers that he thought an item box could only hold about 200 kilos. Kaide grins, explaining that his own capacity is so large he can't see the bottom. He thanks the stunned client, saying this job will be a great help to him. A quick check of his inventory shows he has stored an immense amount. The client can only mutter about the abnormal quantity he has just stored. Another man arrives, demanding to know what is happening with the ore. Kaide calmly explains that he has only filled a single one of his inventory slots. The client is left speechless, realizing there are still 1,000 more slots available. The once mountainous pile of iron ore is now completely gone from the yard. Later, Kaidi arrives at a bustling refinery to make his delivery. The refinery workers stare in stunned silence as he approaches them. He presents a single piece of ore, saying this represents the full delivery. A massive stone silo is shown filled to the absolute brim with about 10 tons of ore. The foreman yells in shock that their storage facility is now unexpectedly full. Kaidi smiles, revealing that he accomplished this incredible feat in a single round trip. He muses that he could have carried even more if there was a place to store it. He has now single-handedly completed all the good-paying transport quests. Back with his friends, the armor maker exclaims that he transported 10 tons. The scene transitions to the following day, a new chapter beginning. The armor maker presents him with his new perfectly sized adventurer's gear. Kaidi accepts the new equipment with a sincere and grateful word of thanks. Now clad in sleek armor and a cloak, he declares that it is more than enough. He then presents Sally with her new custom-made wand, much to her surprise. She holds the short, elegant, and beautifully crafted piece delicately in her hands. Overcome with emotion and delight, she can only stammer and laugh happily. The newly equipped adventurer sprints through a forest at an impossible speed. Now fully armed, he resolves to test his new combat capabilities in the forest. He sends a small magical dart ahead of him to scout the area for threats. A map on a device he holds pings with a sudden and intense alert. He is startled by the unexpected and powerful reaction from his sensor. Looking out into a quiet, empty clearing, he gets a strong sense of danger. In the distance, an immense horde of wolves begins to emerge from the trees. A living tide of fur and fang charges through the forest with terrifying force. The sheer, overwhelming number of the creatures fills the entire landscape. Their thunderous advance shakes the very ground beneath them as they close in. Kaida stares in shock, calculating that there must be over 500 of them. He identifies the creatures as a massive pack of aggressive green wolves. He quickly realizes that attempting to run is not a viable option. Resolving to fight, he unseals several mana potions to prepare himself for battle. To prepare for the battle, Kaidi drinks a potion boosting his magic recovery tenfold. He materializes a sword, an item normally of little use to a magic user. Though seemingly impractical for a mage, he grips the hilt of his sword tightly. For him, however, these tools are essential against the approaching wolf horde. With his small shield raised, Kaidi braces himself for the monstrous assault. Leaping across jagged, magically created terrain, he unleashes a barrage of sharp projectiles. His face is contorted in a fierce grin as he roars the name of his spell. The magical rock spears slice through the air with devastating speed and force. His powerful projectiles slam directly into the front ranks of the charging pack. The relentless volley of stone continues, tearing through the air toward the enemy. Thrown into chaos, the wolves are stunned by the sudden, overwhelming magical assault. The snarling beasts are left confused and disoriented by the unexpected attack. A confident smirk appears as he notes the satisfying impact of his developed magic. He analyzes the spell, realizing increased power did not expand its area of effect. Adapting his strategy on the fly, he summons multiple crackling orbs of fire. He declares that he will simply cast multiple spells, unleashing the fiery orbs. A cataclysmic explosion of fire erupts, consuming a large portion of the forest. The searing inferno incinerates dozens of the green wolves in an instant. Landing amidst the scorched earth, he surveys the swathe of destruction he created. His focus remains sharp as he turns to face the remaining enraged wolves. The surviving wolves let out a collective howl and renew their furious charge. The battle becomes a frantic dance as he weaves through their snapping jaws. While dodging, he continues to cast a relentless stream of magical projectiles. He runs and fights simultaneously, a blur of motion against the monstrous horde. The close-quarters combat intensifies into a visceral flurry of violent impacts. His magic tears through flesh and fur in a whirlwind of chaotic destruction. Amidst the swirling chaos, his expression is one of absolute focus and control. As the battle concludes, the sky begins to darken and the first stars appear. The forest falls silent under the quiet evening sky. The fight finally over. He stands silently, his armor and cloak stained from the ferocious battle. Looking back at the battlefield, he mutters about the wolves' surprising tenacity. He stands alone amidst a massive crater filled with his defeated foes. He reflects that the entire overwhelming battle took only about 3 minutes. Despite his exhaustion and minor injuries, a small satisfied smile appears. He declares it was a good workout as his new level 17 status is displayed. Consulting a document, he tallies his kills, surprised by the sheer number. The record confirms his astonishing feat. 513 green wolves subjugated. He is momentarily taken aback, wondering how such a large pack could exist. Shrugging it off, he decides to report his findings to Sari at the guild. Before leaving, he resolves to collect the valuable materials from the corpses. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble violently, signaling a new unseen threat. A massive armored beast crashes through the trees with incredible, destructive force. The new creature is a hulking, dragon-like monster covered in sharp scales. It moves with terrifying power, its sheer size dwarfing the surrounding trees. A deafening, guttural roar echoes through the now silent, ravaged forest. Back at the guild, Sari stares in disbelief, repeating the subjugation number. She questions where he found so many, as he was only gone for 15 minutes. She insists that green wolves simply do not form packs of that magnitude. Kaidi reflects that while 500 was a close call, it was good practice. Sari listens, her expression a mixture of deep concern and utter astonishment. She asks to buy the corpses, and he agrees to provide 100 of them. The scene transitions to the rooftops of the town. Business now concluded. Kaidi politely requests maintenance for his sword and shield from the blacksmith. The blacksmith inspects the longsword, his expression serious as he notes the damage. He states the wear is far too extensive for just a few days of hunting. With a knowing look, he asks if the adventurer understands the implications. He deduces from the damage that Kaidi must have cut down hundreds of wolves. Kaidi is inwardly amazed by the blacksmith's incredible deductive skill. The smith remarks on his inexplicable power jump, which should be impossible. A short while later, the maintenance is complete and the gear is returned. He confirms the shield was fine and the sword sharpened, advising good care. However, he strongly advises Kaidi to start thinking about replacing his sword. He warns that the steel blade will inevitably break against stronger foes. Intrigued, Kaidi asks about obtaining a sword made from superior dragon materials. The blacksmith scoffs, stating an evil dragon sword would cost 40 million. Kaidi is utterly shocked by the immense price. Learning such parts are rare. Such a weapon is legendary and would cause a major stir in any nation. Acknowledging dragons are out of reach, he asks for a more realistic target. The smith suggests aiming for a sword made from a metal lizard. The name is unfamiliar to Kaidi, his expression one of complete confusion. He explains it's a B-rank monster covered in an incredibly hard metal hide. Its scales are so tough that most swordsmen cannot even scratch them. A sword from its hide would cost 1.5 million, a daunting figure. He concludes that fighting such a creature is still far beyond his means. The following day, Kaidi walks through the town towards the Adventurers Guild. He arrives to find the massive doors are shut tight, which is unusual. A notice with unfamiliar runes has been posted on the closed guild doors. He moves closer to read the inscription, his expression turning to alarm. The notice declares an emergency, summoning all adventurers to the front gate. A large crowd of adventurers has already assembled in the courtyard. He scans the tense crowd and spots two familiar figures among them. He calls out to Sari, who turns with a look of surprise. Approaching her, he quickly asks what is happening to cause this commotion. Sari explains a massive pack of green wolves is heading for the town. She thanks him for his prior report, which allowed them to prepare. The gathered heroes agree they must form a defensive line to protect the gate. Sari adds a grave complication. A powerful Galgon accompanies the wolf horde. She explains that while new, his combat power is considered top class here. With a worried look, she reveals that this particular guild is weak. Kite is shocked to learn the guild's forces are not very strong. His expression hardens with resolve as he accepts the difficult mission. Relieved, Sari thanks him, telling him he is one of their main forces. Another adventurer reports that their own group is prepared to move out. Sari tells Kaidi to go along with the others who are now ready. In a stunning display of speed, he leaps high over the defensive line. His sudden departure leaves his companions standing in stunned confusion. They can only watch, their faces a mixture of shock and bewilderment. He lands alone in the dense woods beyond the town's protective walls. He runs, reflecting that this mission is a great responsibility and opportunity. Gripping his sword, he resolves to unleash his full power on the horde. A young adventurer, Kaide, stands ready, resolving to intercept a monster horde with his full power. He knows his mana is not infinite. Even with potions, he can only last for 20 minutes. Facing a massive pack of snarling wolves, he steels himself for the inevitable confrontation. With a swift, fluid motion, his sword cuts down several wolves within its immediate reach. For more distant enemies, he unleashes sharp, crystalline projectiles of powerful magic. His magical barrage streaks through the forest, aimed with deadly precision at the beasts. The crystalline shards find their mark, impaling a wolf with overwhelming lethal force. Kaide notes with satisfaction that his recent level up has significantly increased his attack power. His confidence grows as he easily parries an incoming lunge with his sturdy shield. Suddenly, a colossal tusked boar smashes through the wolves, catching him completely by surprise. He quickly conjures a rock lance spell in a desperate response to the new threat. The magical spear hurtles towards the charging boar, but the beast remains entirely unfazed. The monstrous boar closes the distance, its immense size and power absolutely overwhelming. Kaide stares in shock, realizing his powerful spell failed to even slow its charge. The devastating impact sends him flying backward, a testament to the boar's incredible force. While recovering from the blow, he quickly activates his appraisal skill to analyze his new foe. The skill identifies the beast as a Galgon, revealing its formidable strength and health. He calculates that defeating it would require more than 14 consecutive rock lance spells. The Galgon lets out another ferocious roar, preparing to charge at him once again. In the next moment, the massive beast is seen collapsing heavily to the ground. A status overlay confirms the Galgon's HP has dropped to 0, its life suddenly extinguished. Kaide looks on in disbelief, wondering if a single fatal blow truly defeated it. Dismissing the strange victory, his attention turns to the monster's unnatural behavior. He recalls that the monsters were all running in a straight line, as if fleeing. He reasons that following their path might reveal the true cause of the stampede. With a new goal now set in his mind, he prepares to investigate the disturbance. Launching himself high into the air, he soars effortlessly above the forest canopy. From his high vantage point, he spots a chaotic scene of many different creatures fleeing. The ground below is a blur of panicked animals, all escaping in one unified direction. Wolves and boars run side by side, united in their terror of a much greater threat. Landing amidst the fleeing creatures, Kaide realizes what must lie just ahead of them. He follows their path deeper into the woods, his expression growing increasingly grim. A close-up shows a wolf's terrified snarl, emphasizing the overwhelming dread gripping the forest. The source of the terror is revealed. A monstrous, armored metal lizard lets out a deafening roar. Kaide grimaces, recognizing the beast a friend had previously warned him about. He understands now why all the other monsters were fleeing from its terrifying presence. Deciding a solo fight is unwise, he resolves to retreat and report to the guild. But it is too late. The metal lizard's reptilian eye has locked directly onto him. A jolt of panic runs through Kaide as he realizes he has been spotted. With a ferocious roar, the creature opens its maw, preparing to launch its attack. The metal lizard charges forward with shocking, ground-shaking speed. Kaide questions if escape is even possible against a foe that is faster than himself. He turns and flees, narrowly dodging as the beast smashes a tree right behind him. The creature relentlessly pursues him, snapping at his heels with its powerful jaws. Knowing physical attacks are useless, he realizes he has no choice but to fight. He begins to gather a massive amount of magical energy for a powerful spell. He calculates that the spell will consume the equivalent of 1 full minute of his mana. He confirms the immense power he is pouring into this single, decisive attack. Unleashing a special large fireball, he engulfs the creature in a massive explosion. The beast's head is wreathed in flames, but its armored hide holds firm against the heat. It emerges from the inferno, completely unharmed, and lunges at the stunned Kaide. His eyes widen in pure shock as he realizes his ultimate attack completely failed. He is thrown backward by the sheer force of the enraged beast's powerful charge. A jolt of pain courses through his body as the attack makes contact. A grazing blow from the creature's spiky body sends him flying through the air. The metal lizard itself recoils slightly from the immense force of its own powerful strike. The impact is brutal, a blur of violent motion and unstoppable force. He lands hard on the ground, the force of the blow jarring his entire body. Crying out in agony, he realizes his leg is broken, but is thankful for his recovery magic. He understands with chilling certainty that a direct hit would have meant instant death. A vision of his friend strengthens his resolve. He cannot let this monster reach the town. With fierce determination burning in his eyes, he vows to defeat the beast, no matter the cost. He knows he possesses a unique penetrating magic that might be his only hope. If his current spells are not enough, he resolves to create a new one on the spot. He extends his hand, attempting to conjure a new spell, but nothing happens. Confused, he wonders if there are other conditions for magic activation besides his will. The metal lizard gives him no time to ponder, letting out another earth-shaking roar. Panic sets in as he feels he is out of options and running out of magic. He watches the beast, its armored hide seeming utterly and completely impenetrable. A new idea sparks in his mind. There is one more option left to him. He remembers that unlike a sword, magic can be amplified by charging it over time. The image of his failed fireball attack reinforces the need for a new approach. He theorizes that to pierce the tank-like armor, he needs speed and weight to generate immense pressure. He checks his skills, realizing he possesses a magic that can pierce the armor. His finger scrolls down his status screen, landing on the special skill he developed. The skill is identified as Pressure Magic 3, the key to his new plan. He decides on a massive gamble, preparing to pour all his remaining 29,000 MP into one attack. He knows this will require 15 minutes of charging, time he must buy by dodging. He believes he can evade its charges and tail swings if he understands its patterns. Using his martial arts aptitude, he angles his shield to be thrown clear by the attacks. The beast's massive tail sweeps towards him, and he expertly redirects the force. He grits his teeth against the searing pain, acknowledging it hurts but keeps him alive. The battle of endurance continues, a blur of motion and desperate near misses. Finally, after 15 grueling minutes, he announces that the preparation is complete. He faces the charging beast, his plan ready to be executed at a moment's notice. While dodging, he had been analyzing the beast, searching for its single weakest point. He identified the most vulnerable spot, one that is never exposed to a frontal assault. With an agile leap, he vaults onto the charging monster's unguarded back. The metal lizard bellows in surprise and rage, thrashing about to dislodge him. Perched atop the beast, he prepares to unleash his final, desperate attack. He screams, channeling every last drop of his accumulated power into his hand. He thrusts his hand down, unleashing his ultimate spell. Pressure Magic! The beast is shocked as a gaping hole is blown through its back. The creature's head is shown in close-up, its life ending in an instant. The force of the spell causes the monster's armor to shatter and explode inward. The sound of the impact is deafening, a symphony of utter destruction. A massive section of its armored hide is completely obliterated by the blast. Kaidi is thrown backward by the sheer force of his own powerful spell. He lands battered and exhausted, his cloak torn and his stance weary. His eyes are wide with shock and disbelief at the power he just unleashed. The metal lizard's armored head shatters as a voice questions if the beast is truly defeated. Its vacant reptilian eye stares lifelessly, confirming the fatal blow. A massive gaping hole has been torn through the creature's thick metallic hide. Kaidi stands amidst the rubble, surveying the aftermath of his incredible power. Panting lightly, he breathes a word of disbelief, finally realizing he has won. A triumphant, almost manic grin spreads across his face as he marvels at his solo victory. Now running towards town, his sensor confirms the surrounding monsters have all retreated. His thoughts turn to his companions as he worries for Salier and the others' safety. From afar, Salier spots him, her face lighting up as she runs, crying out that he's alive. She chides him, her words conveying that he sounded like a man about to die. Grabbing his cloak, her eyes fill with tears as she exclaims how incredibly worried she was. Her hand clenches the fabric tightly, conveying the depth of her fear for him. Looking away guiltily, he offers a soft apology for causing her such distress. He tries to justify his actions, reminding her of her own words about fighting on the front lines. With a sheepish grin, he admits that her scolding now makes him realize his foolishness. Salier lets out a weary sigh, her expression still a mixture of worry and relief. He asks what she was doing after the retreat, revealing his encounter with the metal lizard. The name of the beast sends a jolt of pure shock and disbelief through Salier. As she panics about gathering mages, he calmly states that he has already defeated it. She stops, asking him to repeat himself, unable to process his impossible claim. Smiling, he suggests the general monster retreat was a direct result of his victory. Salier observes him, remarking that he is a very unconventional mage to be wielding a sword. He asks if she can use wind magic, a question that seems to surprise him. She explains the complex, standard strategy of using multiple mages to defeat the beast. He details his method of breaking its back armor, a feat she declares is impossible. He suggests it was a weaker individual and offers to show her the corpse from his item box. The colossal, spiky carcass materializes from a vortex of shimmering pixels. She questions his item box's capacity. He nonchalantly says it's just a bit larger than average. Examining the body, she confirms it is a metal lizard, noting a hole in its back. He points out the hole he made, and she moves in for a closer inspection. Suddenly, he scoops her into his arms, offering to help her get a better view. He effortlessly holds her aloft, bringing her right up to the gaping wound in the armor. Flustered, she stammers an apology while he points out the hole he created. Her embarrassment gives way to awe as she examines the clean, impossible puncture. She concludes that his magic is fundamentally different from anything she has ever known. Later, she thanks him for the subjugation and says she will report to the branch chief. She then clarifies that it is he, the victor, who must make the official report. He points to himself, his eyes wide with shock at the sudden responsibility. The scene transitions to the imposing, heavy doors of the branch chief's office. A close-up reveals the ornate handles on the massive wooden doors. Inside, he slams his forehead onto a desk, shouting a profound apology. The branch chief, a scarred older man, calmly tells him to raise his head. He admits they were aware of abnormal monster activity, but didn't understand the full situation. He accepts the guild's responsibility and offers his sincere thanks for saving many lives. Kaidi internally reflects that while the beast was defeated, his own spear was broken. The chief mentions budget issues, making Kaidi's intervention unavoidable. He then states that, on that note, he has a personal request to ask of him. Leaning forward, he asks Kaidi to keep the victory a secret to prevent widespread chaos. Kaidi looks back, confused by the request and asking for clarification. Another guild member explains that a metal lizard near town is a major abnormal incident. He insists that no one would believe a lone adventurer defeated it, causing a huge uproar. Kaidi smiles and readily agrees to refrain from speaking about the matter. The chief brings up the blacksmith Duerg, knowing Kaidi wants a new weapon. He explains that their town lacks the specialized facilities to process metal lizard materials. Kaidi is surprised, questioning the need to go to a different town. The chief points out a window towards the southeast where the dwarven facilities are located. Kaidi realizes this means he must leave town, identifying the destination as Alaria. His expression hardens with resolve as he agrees to undertake the journey. Against a cloudy sky, he reaffirms his decision to go. It's noted that small parties in this world often travel at night and rest by day. Before leaving, he says his farewells to the various friends he has made. He recalls how the blacksmith Duerg had already anticipated his departure. Finally, he and his companions are seen walking away from the town gate. Kaidi stands before Salier at the guild, cheerfully presenting her with snow flowers. Salier looks up from her desk, surprised by his sudden appearance. A close-up on his eye reveals his serious intent for this final meeting. He asks if the branch chief is in, then mentions he has something to discuss. He confirms that while there's no problem, he has decided to leave town. Salier gasps, completely taken aback by the sudden news of his departure. As his party leaves, he explains he is going to El Herrera to have weapons made. Salier's expression turns sad as she processes that he is moving to another town. Kaidi watches her, his expression calm and gentle as she worries. She looks up, telling him that there is no need for him to worry. He reassures her, explaining the Green Wolf incident was caused by the metal lizard he defeated. She notes the town's fighting strength will be lower, but insists they will be fine. A soft, resigned smile touches her lips as she accepts his departure. He understands and asks to settle his account for some Zunana grass. He looks on with a thoughtful expression as she processes the request. He reflects on his great fortune in meeting kind people like Salier in this new world. He offers her a delicate plant sprig, expressing his sincere gratitude. Handing her the sprig, he expresses his hope that they will meet again somewhere. She is momentarily taken aback, a soft sound of surprise escaping her. Their hands touch gently as she accepts the plant, flustered by the gesture. Her face breaks into a radiant smile as she enthusiastically agrees to meet again. He returns her joy with a warm, gentle smile of his own. The scene transitions to a vast mountainous landscape, signaling the journey's start. 5 days after his departure, he travels at an incredible speed through the wilderness. He consults his map, surprised he is covering a 10-day horse journey so quickly. From a ridge, he can already see his destination, the city of El Herrera. The walled city sits nestled in a valley between towering, rugged mountains. He calculates he'll arrive in an hour, crediting the power boost from his level up. Suddenly, his sensor pings, alerting him to a group of people nearby. He finds it strange they are traveling through the forest when a road is nearby. His sensor displays their glowing silhouettes, one of which looks disturbingly familiar. His gaze narrows as a grim suspicion begins to form in his mind. The view moves through the dense, silent forest, building tension. A group of 6 rough-looking men are revealed, clearly up to no good. A young woman with braided red hair lies on the ground, her hands bound. Crouching behind a tree, Kaidi observes the grim scene, his expression hardening. He resolves to intervene, concluding they are bandits who prey on the innocent. Peeking from behind a tree, Kaidi observes a group of men, recalling the guild's orders. He decides that before acting, he must confirm if every single one is a bandit. Activating his appraisal skill, a system interface materializes to analyze the group before him. The results flash into view, confirming each of the men's status as a bandit. With his suspicion confirmed, he notes this will be his first fight against other humans. One of the bandits casually shouts at a companion who has wandered off to relieve himself. Suddenly, a sharp, dark projectile flies through the air, startling the entire group. The bandit leader, alarmed by the strange noise, orders one of his men to investigate. A lone bandit cautiously makes his way deeper into the dark and imposing woods. The man seems uncertain, sensing that something is very wrong in the forest. He is shocked to find a massive crystal wall and Kaidi sitting calmly on a branch. With an intense gaze, Kaidi leaps from the tree branch to begin his swift assault. The bandit can only gasp in terror at the sudden and overwhelming attack from above. Kaidi unleashes his pressure magic weak, descending upon the unsuspecting bandits. An immense shockwave erupts from him, sending the men flying helplessly through the air. The remaining bandits are frozen in shock at the instantaneous and devastating attack. From the center of the blast, Kaidi stands amidst the destructive power he unleashed. A surviving bandit stares in terror, questioning what kind of being his attacker is. In the aftermath of the attack, the forest clearing falls completely silent and still. Kaidi stands among the fallen men, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. He reflects that he wanted to capture them, but his power was unexpectedly high. He feels no guilt, realizing this dangerous world requires such necessary and brutal actions. Shaking off his dark thoughts, he turns his attention to a more immediate priority. His expression shifts to concern as he remembers the captive he came here to rescue. He finds the unconscious girl, Sumisa, and his appraisal reveals her forced hypnosis status. Carrying the girl, he finally arrives at the fortified city of El Herrera in the mountains. He worries knowing that his own skills are completely useless against her magical affliction. At the city gate, he is stopped by a group of armed men who block his path. The men, including a dwarf, look shocked to see the unconscious girl on his back. The furious dwarf charges forward, shouting Sumisa's name and accusing Kaidi of harming her. Kaidi panics, quickly realizing that he is being mistaken for a kidnapper. A companion steps in, explaining to the dwarf that Kaidi rescued Sumisa from bandits. The men look relieved, understanding that the girl is under a powerful hypnosis spell. One of the men thanks Kaidi, reassuring him that they can easily cure her with medicine. The dwarf, now calmed, calls out to his daughter, his anger completely gone. The man explains the dwarf was frantic with worry after his daughter went missing. Kaidi lets out a sigh, realizing his initial suspicions about them were unfounded. The dwarf, Sumis, thanks Kaidi and offers his full cooperation as a reward for her rescue. Kaidi eagerly accepts, explaining he needs a shop that can process metal lizard materials. Sumis dismisses business for now, insisting they must first celebrate Kaidi's heroic deed. That night, the group walks through the industrial town towards a bustling tavern. Inside, Sumis raises his tankard high, roaring a toast to his daughter's safe return. The other dwarves cheer enthusiastically, the hall filled with joyous celebration and relief. Kaidi reflects on the dwarf's workshop and tools, pondering the nature of this place. He smirks, thinking it is understandable that no one is listening to him right now. Taking a thoughtful sip from his mug, he contemplates the day's very strange events. His gaze drifts over stacks of gleaming metal ingots, a sign of the town's industry. A voice from behind suddenly calls his name, interrupting his quiet thoughts. The rescued girl introduces herself as Sumisa, thanking him despite having no memory. He asks if she is feeling better, and she confirms that she is completely uninjured. They sit together, and she notes that he is an adventurer in the middle of a journey. She sincerely apologizes for causing him to be delayed because of her situation. He reassures her, explaining he had business here anyway concerning a metal lizard. She asks if he needs a new weapon, stating that this workshop can make one for him. He realizes this is the workshop he was looking for and says a sword would help. Dwelarg loudly proclaims he can make a costly but excellent sword from metal lizard. Sumisa suggests a half-price reward, but Kaidi insists on paying the full amount. He then admits, with some embarrassment, that he doesn't have nearly enough money. A brilliant idea strikes him. He offers to sell them the monster's entire carcass. They are skeptical of his claim, but he insists it is better to simply show them. In the workshop's courtyard, the group gathers, anticipating what he will reveal. Their faces contort with utter shock and disbelief at what they are about to see. Before them lies the colossal, spiky, and terrifying carcass of the defeated metal lizard. He calmly explains his item box simply has a much larger capacity than most. A summoned accountant calmly confirms that he is able to make the purchase. The accountant offers to buy the processed metal for an incredible sum per kilogram. Kaidi is stunned by the high valuation and eagerly agrees to the generous deal. Dwelarg roars that the deal is made, but it is not time to drink just yet. He turns to Kaidi, asking if he can use fire magic for the dismantling process. Dwelarg then commands Kakade to help with the work, much to his initial surprise. Kaidi prepares a small flame at his fingertip, ready to begin the difficult process. He unleashes a powerful, continuous stream of fire directly into the creature's maw. He asks if he should just burn the entire thing, but Dwelarg quickly corrects him. The dwarf explains they must only burn the flesh to preserve the valuable armor. Kaidi is still mentally calculating the enormous profit he is about to make from this. Dwelarg watches in awe, remarking on Kaidi's incredible and sustained magical power. He questions why such a powerful B-rank mage would even need to wield a sword. Dwelarg asks about the quality of his current staff, which seems unusually short. Kaidi explains it's a basic model he bought in Een, made of simple materials. The cheap materials are shown shattering under the force of his powerful magic. He realizes his staff is just a beginner model made of ironwood and bronze. A realization strikes him, and he asks if a staff's material affects magic speed. Dwelarg confirms it's possible but warns the hard material requires a special process. He then suggests that if Kaidi is truly interested, he should speak to Sumasa. Dwelarg adds that her staves are the best in town, and Kaidi readily agrees. The scene shifts to the industrial town, smoke rising from its many forges. Kaidi finds Sumisa and asks if she can make him a staff from metal lizard. She looks up from her blueprints, saying it's possible but asks what kind he wants. He requests a short staff with acceleration, which she immediately declares is impossible. He humbly admits his ignorance and asks her to teach him what she knows. He flatters her, saying he heard her staves are the very best in town. A pleased smile spreads across her face as she agrees to explain the basics. She begins her lecture, explaining that longer staves are needed to speed up magic. In summary, she will explain the fundamental principles of all staff construction. A diagram shows a staff's three parts: receiving, accelerating, and releasing magic. A cross-section reveals the accelerator's dual core structure, which is key to its function. She explains magic density, using the analogy of a balloon holding magic power. If a mage's power exceeds the material's limit, the excess energy simply leaks out. Therefore, better materials are needed for both the core and shell for high performance. Having absorbed this new knowledge, Kaidi clenches his fist, a brilliant idea forming. With a brilliant smile, Kaidi excitedly pitches his idea for a new kind of weapon. Sumisa stares back at him, her expression a perfect mask of deadpan disbelief. She bluntly tells him that she has absolutely no idea what he is talking about. Undeterred, Kaidi insists he is serious, clenching his fist with determined energy. A schematic visualizes his design, a staff made of metal lizard material, bladed like a sword. The blueprint notes the immense magic power required, questioning the sanity of the concept. Sumisa points out a critical design flaw, explaining it would need 3 mages to power. After a moment of silence, Kaidi reveals his magic is 500 times an ordinary mage's. He continues, stating his natural recovery is also 500 times the norm. With a confident smirk, he asks her if it wouldn't be interesting if he could use it. Sumasa is rendered completely speechless, a slow smile of awe spreading across her face. Her perception of him is utterly transformed. She realizes he is a different kind of adventurer. Now grinning, she agrees to make the historic weapon, a first for any mage. Kaidi smirks back, vowing to simply increase his magic to meet the weapon's demands. They share a knowing, conspiratorial laugh, their business now settled. The scene fades to white, indicating the passage of time. While waiting 3 days for the weapon, Kaidi decides to take on guild requests in Alara. His recent promotion to E rank allows him to accept a wider range of quests. In a desolate wilderness, he raises his shield against an unseen threat. He unleashes a volley of sharp, crystalline magic against a pack of wolf-like beasts. The monsters are caught by surprise, their snarling faces filled with shock. A massive wolf lunges forward, crashing through the magical barrage with brute force. Its eye glints with feral intensity as it closes the distance for an attack. The beast deftly dodges the rain of magical projectiles, completely unfazed. The ground erupts where the shards miss, kicking up dust around the creature. Kaidi stands amidst the aftermath, a field of jagged crystal spikes of his own creation. He analyzes the battle, noting the rank E Red Wolf dodged his overly fast magic. Looking around, he comments on the strange and impressive nature of the surrounding area. From a high vantage point, he observes a town surrounded by a barren, treeless landscape. Consulting a glowing device, he finds no monsters nearby, wondering if they are hiding. Suddenly, his device pings, alerting him to a human presence, much to his shock. He wonders if it's another adventurer or something far more sinister lurking in the woods. Peeking from the foliage, he discovers two cloaked figures guarding a dark cave entrance. His appraisal skill confirms his suspicion, immediately identifying both figures as thieves. He continues to watch them from his hiding spot, concealed within the dense trees. With grim certainty, he realizes his quest was a reconnaissance mission for this very hideout. His magical map shows the two guards and hints at more people deeper inside. He ponders why they would need lookouts in such a remote and hidden location. His expression hardens as he questions if this is the thieves' main stronghold. The scene shifts to the stately exterior of the Adventurers Guild building. Inside, the stern-looking Alara branch chief asks Katie to confirm his discovery. Kaidi affirms his report, stating that two thieves were guarding a cave-like entrance. The chief muses that he had previously believed them to be a disorganized group of runaways. Kaidi clarifies that it appears to be a large organized group, possibly a bandit syndicate. He explains that he reported back immediately because he didn't know their numbers. The chief reveals a grave suspicion that someone of high status is collaborating with them. He informs Kaide that he will likely be chosen for the subjugation team. Later, Kaede walks through town, passing by a blacksmith shop. He briefly sees two dwarven smiths hard at work in their forge. He also passes by a scholar or merchant handling large, heavy tomes. He finds Sumisa and cheerfully asks about the progress on his new staff. She reminds him that it isn't ready yet, as she told him it would take 3 days. He smiles ruefully, wishing he had his new weapon for the upcoming bandit raid. He resolves to face the challenge with his current equipment, walking past other workers. Inside a workshop, his hand rests thoughtfully on a piece of rough sawn wood. A look of sudden puzzlement crosses his face as an idea begins to form. He asks Sumisa about the treeless landscape, confirming they use charcoal for metalworking. Looking concerned, he then asks her why they don't simply use coal. Sumisa dismissively explains that coal is only for heating and ruins the quality of metal. A jolt of recognition hits Katie as he remembers something about the importance of temperature. He recalls the solution from his old world, creating coke using limestone. Sumisa looks at him with a single skeptical eye, waiting for his explanation. He excitedly declares they can make coke, a new fuel, by burning coal. She questions his logic, pointing out that coal is already a fuel that burns. He explains the process of transforming it by burning it without air. Sumisa gives him a look of complete and utter bewilderment. She throws her hands up, stating that fuel is not her specialty. She makes staves. He stops her, suggesting she could take the idea to the local fuel shop. He tempts her with the possibility of getting rich if coke becomes a patented fuel. A mischievous and slightly greedy grin spreads across his face, having successfully hooked her. They arrive at a rustic wooden building, the town's fuel shop. Inside, Katie politely asks a burly bearded man if this is Ignis's establishment. He explains that Sumisa sent him because he knows a way to create a new fuel. He clarifies that this new fuel is made from coal. Ignis is deeply skeptical, questioning if it has higher firepower than charcoal. He dismisses the idea as suspicious, but Kaide asks for his cooperation. Kaide makes a business proposal. Ignis will pay for the technology once it is complete. To seal the deal, Kaide declares he will cover all the experimental costs himself. He reflects that this is a good offer, as new technologies are strongly protected here. He admits he's not certain of the patent process, but his offer stands firm. A sharp sound effect emphasizes the surprising impact of his generous proposal. Ignis smiles, agreeing that this risk-free offer is trustworthy and accepts the terms. Kaide breathes a sigh of relief and thanks him for his cooperation. And so, with their agreement, the production of coke began. However, Kaide reflects that his true calling is adventuring, not manufacturing fuel. Back at the guild, he prepares to report on the previous night's bandit discovery. A familiar, smug voice calls out his name from the side. A confident man with long blonde hair introduces a diverse group of adventurers. Kaide, looking slightly nervous, formally greets the newly formed subjugation squad. The blonde man introduces himself as Massis, a B-rank mage and the team's leader. He immediately begins the briefing, consulting a book with ancient runic script. He lays out the mission, confirming the bandit fortress location and estimating their numbers. An archer warns that even for an E-rank quest, they must remain cautious. Kaide listens to the briefing, his expression thoughtful and serious. He inwardly questions the large party size even with a B-rank mage present. Massis decides to go over the team's ranks and roles one by one. He introduces Valen, a C-rank swordsman, and Zenshi, a D-rank swordsman. The introductions continue with Ukoku the archer, Ino the swordsman, and Hankusu the spear user. Finally, it is his turn, and Kate introduces himself as an E-rank magic swordsman. Masis interrupts, asking him to explain what exactly a magic swordsman is. Skepticism fills the air as Ukoku questions an E-rank's ability to use magic while moving. From his seat, Katie silently listens to the doubts being voiced by his new teammates. Their leader, Masis, apologetically asks Kaidi to prove his skills for the team's sake. Understanding the need for clarity, Kaidi agrees, stating he won't hold back if it's necessary. Standing alone on the training ground, he knows hiding his true power could endanger them all. Masis offers Kaidi a potion before the display, but he confidently refuses the assistance. The team's hooded member observes Kaidi's stance, remarking that his movements seem amateurish. With a sharp, focused expression, Kaidi draws his sword, ready to begin the demonstration. He moves with impossible speed, his blade creating a whirlwind of after-images around him. Masis and his companions stare with wide-eyed shock, their faces frozen in disbelief. After his swordsmanship display, Kaidi asks if that was enough as he prepares his magic. The wooden dummies behind him, untouched by his blade, suddenly explode into splinters. He then unleashes a rock spear spell, tearing up the ground with multiple concussive blasts. A wide view shows the training ground now scarred with craters and smoldering from his power. Both Masis and the hooded adventurer are left completely speechless, their jaws hanging open. A slightly surprised Kaidi looks back at them, not expecting such an extreme reaction. Masis frantically waves his hands, insisting that the demonstration was more than sufficient. He then expresses concern for Kaidi's stamina after unleashing so much power at once. Kaidi reveals his rapid healing magic and vast mana reserves, enough for 20 minutes of continuous combat. He explains with a smile that his low rank is simply because he's a new adventurer. Acknowledging his incredible strength, Masis declares Kaidi a powerful and reliable asset to the team. Now convinced of his ability, Masis asks if he would be willing to serve as the vanguard. Kaidi quietly considers the immense responsibility and danger of fighting on the front line. With unwavering resolve, he accepts the role, agreeing to lead their assault. The subjugation team travels through a rocky, barren landscape toward the bandit-infested forest. Moving through the dense woods, the team prepares for their mission. The infiltration unit, consisting of Kaidi, Masis, and a hooded adventurer, breaks off. Meanwhile, two other members are told they will act as a decoy. A close-up reveals the decoy plan was for Valen and Zenshi to draw attention. Masis gives his true orders to the remaining four. They are to seal the rear exit. Kaidi stands ready before the concealed entrance to the bandit fortress. Without waiting for a command, he unleashes a powerful rock spear spell. The magic blasts a hole in the cliffside, catching Masis completely by surprise. The force of the explosion sends a bandit guard tumbling lifelessly through the air. Masis quickly recovers, urging his companions to press forward into the breach. He is startled by Kaidi's sudden burst of speed as he enters the tunnel. Kaidi dashes through the crumbling passage, leaving the others far behind. His companions struggle to keep pace, amazed by his incredible velocity. They wonder how he can navigate the dark, unfamiliar tunnels so effortlessly. Kaidi consults a simple map on his tablet, knowing they must act before being discovered. Rounding a corner, he encounters a group of bandits and prepares to use his appraisal skill. As a bandit recognizes him, Kaidi declares that suppressing them is his top priority. He unleashes pressure magic, a wave of invisible force that crushes everything in the corridor. Masis and the hooded adventurer finally arrive, panting heavily from the exertion. Kaidi calmly notes their advance has been easy, and a winded Masis agrees. A flicker of concern crosses Kaidi's face, hoping this mission won't end in disaster. They proceed deeper, their path blocked by a massive reinforced door. Masis observes that the door is designed to be opened only from the other side. Hearing a large crowd within, he confirms they have reached the main hideout. He turns to Kaidi, wondering what their next move should be. He suggests he and his companion will break the door, allowing Kaidi to handle the fight. With a confident grin, Kaidi understands and agrees to the plan. The three adventurers stand ready before the final barrier. Masis and the hooded adventurer brace themselves, preparing to charge the door. The hooded man gives the signal, shouting for them to begin their assault. Inside, the cavernous hideout is filled with bandits enjoying a routine day. A group of outlaws is engrossed in a game of cards at a rough stone table. Two men share a drink at a makeshift bar, completely unaware of the impending attack. Various groups of criminals are scattered throughout the large open space. The atmosphere is casual and lawless, a normal day for the den of thieves. Suddenly, a cataclysmic blast of force erupts from the center of the cavern. The two drinking bandits are thrown from their seats in shock and confusion. The immense shock wave sends debris and bodies hurtling through the air. A hooded bandit looks up in disbelief at the figure attacking from midair. Stunned by the sight, he questions what this intruder could possibly be. His face contorts in terror as he stares at the source of the overwhelming power. Kaidi streaks through the air like a meteor, a blur of destructive motion. He lands in a dynamic crouch, ready to continue his one-man assault. With a furious roar, he uses appraisal to confirm they are all bandits. Leaping into the air, he unleashes a devastating storm of rock spears. The hooded bandit watches in horror as the cavern is filled with deadly projectiles. The relentless attack tears through the bandits, throwing them about like rag dolls. The hideout structures and inhabitants are completely obliterated in seconds. From a safe distance, Maddox and his companion watch the swift, brutal conclusion. A profound silence falls over the cavern as the dust from the attack begins to settle. Kaide lands, his expression grim and focused after unleashing his overwhelming power. The scene shifts to the bright, open air outside the now silent bandit fortress. At the cave entrance, the entire subjugation team stands, surveying the aftermath. Kaide is stunned by the loud noise, while his companions remark that the fight is over. Still processing the event, he asks if the mission is truly finished, and Magis confirms it. Magic smirks, noting the bandits were annihilated thanks to Kaidi's incredible strength. As he prepares to move on to collecting the spoils, his expression suddenly changes. His glowing tablet pings, alerting him to an urgent new piece of intelligence. He announces that another group of 7 kidnappers has taken a child hostage. Magix issues a new order, tasking Kaidi with prioritizing the child's rescue. The scene shifts to a different, peaceful part of the deep forest. The second group of kidnappers makes their way through the trees. Their leader carries a large sack slung over his shoulder, containing the hostage. He announces that they have finally arrived at their destination, a dark cave mouth. The ominous, shadowy entrance to their hideout looms before them. As they emerge into a clearing, they are confronted by the waiting adventurer party. The bandits are caught completely by surprise by the sudden ambush. Their leader bellows in rage, demanding to know who these strangers are. One of the bandits cries out as he is struck by an invisible, crushing force. Kaidi unleashes a weak pressure magic to immobilize the kidnappers. He moves swiftly to secure the hostage from the incapacitated criminals. Cradling the light, unconscious girl, he suspects she is under a forced hypnosis spell. In the background, his companions efficiently subdue the remaining bandits. A hooded adventurer suggests they check the child's condition for injuries. Kaidi carefully lays the girl down and uses his appraisal skill to investigate her status. Concerned for the rescued girl, adventurer Kaidi uses his appraisal skill. He reads her status, questioning the special elf-type race designation. His eyes widen in shock. Her profile is unlike any he has ever seen. The screen reveals her name, Leah, her unusual stats and powerful skills. He puzzles over the complete absence of an MP stat on her screen. Her age is unknown, and her magic control skill is an impossible level 17. A brief memory shows him finding her unconscious form in the forest. He theorizes her skills allow her to manipulate the magic of others. As he ponders her origin, Leah begins to stir, her eyes fluttering open. She sits up dazed, asking the startled Kaide who he is. He introduces himself and asks if she is all right after being kidnapped. Her demeanor instantly changes as she cheerfully announces her name and situation. Kaide is completely bewildered by her carefree attitude, wondering about this child. His companion, Masis, approaches to ask if the hostage is safe. Masis credits Kaide for their minimal injuries while his team guards the bandits. Leah nonchalantly comments that it's a good thing she was tied up. She cheerfully says she can untie herself, and the ropes magically unravel. Floating slightly, she asks if any of the kidnappers managed to escape. Kaide is confused, wondering what she could possibly mean by her question. She happily explains that the magic around Kaide is plentiful and easy to use. A horrifying realization dawns on him as he understands her magic control skill. Checking his status, he confirms with shock that his MP is completely drained. He admits to Masis that he doesn't understand what the girl is saying. Masis decides the best course of action is to take her to the guild. Leah immediately protests, clinging to Kaide's cloak and refusing to go. Masis looks on, confused by her sudden unwillingness to cooperate. She complains that the old man's magic is hard, so she will not go. She insists that she will only go if Kaidi is the one to take her. Moses suggests Kaidi persuade her, since she has clearly taken a liking to him. Kaidi asks her to hold on, and she happily grabs his hand. He reflects on how strange Leah is, with her mysterious skills and amnesia. He decides they will sort things out once they arrive at the guild. A guildswoman explains that they will take responsibility for the rescued children. She then informs a shocked Kaide that he will be Leah's caretaker for now. The guildswoman playfully asks if they are truly unacquainted, to his denial. That evening, they stand outside an inn under a starry sky. Leah bounces with energy while Kaide wonders how this all happened. He reflects on her amnesia and the mystery surrounding her origins. It feels wrong to him to take such a small child adventuring. He notes the guild's investigation will take days, leaving him to care for her. Inside their room, he tells Leah that she can use the bed. Lying on the couch, he decides to pause monster subjugation for her safety. He has many other things to do, and his thoughts drift as he falls asleep. The next morning, birds fly past a clock tower as a new day begins. Kaidi's eye snaps open, suddenly jolted awake from his slumber. He finds Leah's face just inches from his own, staring intently at him. Startled, he asks why she's there, and she confirms he has just woken up. Leah beams with a radiant smile, wishing him a cheerful good morning. He returns the greeting, tiredly wondering who this mysterious child truly is. They arrive at a rustic establishment called Igni's Fuel Shop. A bearded man, Igni, greets Kaidi and asks about the coke experiment. Igni's expression is serious as he prepares to update him on their project. He then notices Leah holding Kaidi's hand and asks about the child. Kaidi explains her situation, and Igni wonders if he's taking a break. Leah enthusiastically declares she will help, boasting about Kaidi's strength. Igni is confused by her nickname for Masis, which Kaidi clarifies. Kaidi mentally reviews Leah's B-rank status but lack of combat skills. He confirms to Igni that they will be taking a short break from fighting. They walk towards the back of the shop to see the new furnace. Igni proudly presents the large smoking brick structure, the coke furnace. Kaidi lets out a sound of pure awe and excitement at the sight. He examines the furnace closely, his excitement growing as he takes it in. His sharp eyes narrow as he notices a faint shimmering near the brickwork. He points out a potential gas leak, but Igni says it's just an experiment. Igni explains his plan to build a proper version out of hard-to-weld mithril. Kaidi is surprised, believing mithril to be an extremely rare and precious ore. He expresses concern over the budget, unsure of the market price for mithril. Igni scoffs, telling him that mithril is so common it's just lying around. Kaidi is utterly stunned by this revelation, his world turned upside down. Leah excitedly points to a dull rock on the ground, declaring it's mithril. She points to another pile of rocks, insisting that one is mithril too. She even points to the wall, claiming there's mithril inside it. Kaidi remains skeptical, muttering that it can't possibly be that abundant. Trusting her, he decides to use his appraisal skill to verify her claim. A holographic screen appears over the rock, displaying its composition. His eyes widen in disbelief as the appraisal confirms it is indeed mithril ore. Igni explains that about a third of the stones in his yard are mithril. Kaidi laughs, realizing how skewed his knowledge is and how cheap mithril is here. With the budget secured, his attention returns to the leaking furnace. He resolves that they must do something about the dangerous gas leak. Suddenly, the furnace rumbles and cracks, and Leah shouts for him to look. She dashes towards the danger, and he yells for her to stay back. She stops, insisting she can handle it from a distance, puzzling Kaidi. Her expression becomes one of intense, focused concentration. She clenches her small hand into a tight fist, gathering her power. With a swift motion, she thrusts her hand forward, unleashing her magic. A tiny projectile of light shoots towards the furnace with incredible speed. The projectile makes contact with the damaged area in a small energy burst. Kaidi and Igni are shown staring at a blueprint, their faces masks of pure shock. They look back to see the leaking fire has been completely extinguished. Leah flashes a triumphant victory sign, proudly announcing that it's done. Kaidi asks in disbelief if that was her magic, knowing she shouldn't have such a skill. She explains with baffling simplicity that she just melted mithril to fill the gaps. She beams, declaring that it was easy to do. Kaidi is floored, realizing she is even more extraordinary than he first thought. He decides he must teach her some basic common sense about the world. He picks up a chunk of mithril ore to demonstrate its toughness. With a grunt, he strains to bend the solid metal with his bare hands. He explains that it's impossible to bend it by force or weld it from afar. Leah says, "Oh," and casually bends the ore, leaving Kaidi and Igni speechless. A young man in a cloak, Kaidi, reacts with surprise as his companion, Leah, asks him a question. Noticing someone approaching, he alerts another man named Igni to their presence. A well-dressed older gentleman formally introduces himself as Miyasu from the charcoal business. Miyasu gets straight to the point, explaining he has a business proposal for Kaidi. He asks directly what the technology fee would be for mass-producing the new coke fuel. Kaidi expresses his gratitude that the business talks have already progressed so far. Miyasu's face lights up with unrestrained excitement as he exclaims about the fuel's incredible power. He explains that the high heat from coke allows for much more efficient misrill refining. With this new fuel, he passionately states, they can easily smelt ore from the nearby mine. Miyasu gets very close, intensely explaining they could begin mass production in just 10 days. A cloaked figure with Kaede steps in, asking to discuss the division of profits. He explains that as the investor, he was advised to take a 30% share. However, for this revolutionary case, he boldly proposes a 50-50 split instead. Kaede is visibly stunned by this audacious demand. He shouts the figure in disbelief, asking if that isn't far too much. Miyasu falls silent, deeply contemplating the offer without making any excuses. The cloaked boy argues that for such a game-changing technology, the price is fair. Kaede calmly voices his agreement to the 50% share, despite his reservations. Miyasu's face breaks into a wide grin as they shake hands, sealing the deal. As Kaede agrees, he feels a growing unease at the breakneck pace of these events. A sense of foreboding fills him as he wonders what the future will bring. He walks through the town, his mind occupied with what is to come. Leah's cheerful voice cuts through his thoughts, asking where they are going next. Kaede mulls over his many tasks, including a new staff and a demon subjugation. Turning to his small companion, he asks if there is anywhere she would like to go. Leah's face lights up with pure joy as she exclaims she wants an adventure. He notes her warlike spirit but gently reminds her that fighting monsters is dangerous. She promises to be patient and reveals she has a protective charm for him. She proudly presents an ornate hair accessory, calling it her special charm. A close-up reveals the intricate flowing design of the magical item. Kaede immediately realizes this is far more than just a simple ornament. The item is identified as a protective hair ornament, imbued with powerful magic. He is floored by its incredible, cheat-level performance and its ability to recharge. Leah acknowledges that his worries about being defenseless should disappear, but hints there's more. With a bright smile, she innocently asks why he possesses it and if he can even fight. Kaede is left completely flustered by her pointed and unexpected questions. His expression becomes one of pure stress and slight embarrassment. Changing the subject, he tells her to stay close to him as they head out. They soon arrive in a lush forest to begin their next task. In the woods, Leah happily gathers plants while Kaede observes from a distance. Kaede reflects that this F-rank gathering quest is their safest available option. He prepares to use his analysis skill, needing only one sample to get started. Among the undergrowth, he spots a plant that looks like a likely candidate. Wondering if it's the correct herb, he activates his appraisal skill. The result identifies it as a common look-alike, not the Fiororo grass he seeks. Leah runs up to ask if he found it, but he confirms it was a false alarm. With a brilliant smile, she holds up a different plant and asks if this is it. A close-up confirms that she has found the genuine Fiororo grass. He lets out a small sigh, impressed that she found the correct herb so easily. A competitive spark ignites in his eyes and he declares he won't lose in sheer numbers. Activating his skill, holographic markers instantly pinpoint every herb in the area. A detailed view shows a healthy sprig of the Fiororo grass. His gloved hand swiftly plucks a stalk from the grassy forest floor. Leah playfully accuses him of cheating as he quickly gathers his seventh specimen. He sheepishly admits that since it's a competition, he has no intention of holding back. He approaches another marker, only to find the plant has already been cut. A close-up shows the cleanly severed stem of the herb. He is shocked, wondering aloud if someone has beaten him to it. Recalling Leah's previous displays of magic, he has a sudden realization. He asks if she, like him, has a way of knowing where the plants are located. Leah gives a non-committal hum, turning away with a coy expression. He realizes she is naturally drawn to places where magic gathers, where the herb thrives. Suddenly, Leah's cheerful demeanor vanishes, her expression turning serious and alert. Kaede turns to her, asking what's wrong with a look of growing concern. He calls her name as her entire atmosphere shifts dramatically. A powerful dark aura erupts from her small frame, creating crystalline needles in the air. One of the sharp black projectiles zips through the air with terrifying speed. Kaidi is shocked as the rock needle flies just past his head. He frantically asks what is happening, insisting there are no monsters nearby. With a fierce and confident grin, she declares that there most certainly are. The entire swarm of needles shoots off into the dense forest with incredible velocity. A piercing shriek echoes through the trees, startling Kaidi. He immediately runs forward to investigate the source of the sudden sound. Looking up, his gaze follows the direction of the attack into the woods. He spots a monstrous wolf-like creature lying motionless on the forest floor. The red dog is pierced by her needles, twitching in its final moments. He is stunned, wondering how she detected it from over 100 meters away. The scene shifts to another cloaked man and a girl named Kaidi. She explains that his magic is easy to detect, unlike her own refined power. The man wonders aloud about towing a demon beast, comparing it to passive sonar. Kaidi demonstrates her magic, effortlessly striking a distant beast with a bolt of energy. The magical projectile zips through the trees with unerring accuracy. A wolf-like monster is hit and cries out in pain from the unexpected assault. The man is impressed, admitting that he would be unable to make such a shot. She explains it as homing magic and asks if he possesses a similar ability. He creates a dark projectile, explaining that he is unable to guide his magic. He looks on in surprise as his spell continues on its straight, unguided path. His dark projectile flies away from him without any change in direction. Suddenly, a ribbon of pure white energy from Kaidi intercepts his spell in midair. She smiles, explaining that an entity she calls Leah is hijacking his magic. Their combined spell transforms into a massive, destructive blade of swirling energy. It detonates in a cataclysmic explosion, obliterating a pack of monsters instantly. They stand in the silent aftermath of the attack, surveying the destruction. She cheerfully notes that their combined magic is both faster and stronger than his alone. He asks why she doesn't attack directly, and she replies that it's normally impossible. He internally reflects on being called a cheat by this seemingly ordinary child. He realizes that he is only capable of simple, single-shot magic operations. He suggests they team up, but she again insists that such a thing is impossible. He wonders if his crude and unrefined mana control is the reason for her refusal. He concludes that she has mastered finesse, while he possesses only raw quantity. Standing in a forest, a cloaked young man reflects on his clumsy magic control. He realizes his immense power and Leah's fine control could be an unbeatable combination. This new way of fighting, he decides, will be far more fun and exciting. From the undergrowth, a pack of savage, monstrous wolves begins to gather nearby. The entire snarling pack launches a ferocious charge directly towards the two adventurers. Leah looks on, her expression filled with concern at the approaching monster horde. She points out the large number of enemies, suggesting they should use more magic. Looking at her companion's calm demeanor, she seems momentarily confused and uncertain. With a confident smile, he turns to her and simply says her name, Kaidi? She asks what's wrong, noting he seems happy, and he quietly confirms it. He admits with a grin that he is finally starting to enjoy the challenge. Her face breaks into a radiant smile as she enthusiastically agrees with his sentiment. Throwing her arms out joyfully, she declares that Leah is having fun as well. As he looks at the forest canopy, a new thought suddenly occurs to him. He is shocked to realize Leah is using his magic, yet his own mana isn't decreasing. Leah cheerfully explains she's only borrowing his wasted mana and asks how much to release. She then innocently asks if she can unleash all of his overflowing power. He is stunned by her question, repeating her words in utter disbelief. As a vortex of fire incinerates the wolves, he explains she just needs to control his power. He remarks with a smile how casually she speaks of wielding such incredible energy. He wonders aloud if he could learn her advanced mana control through practice. Grimacing, he misinterprets her impossible response as a slight against his own talent. A sudden thought strikes him, changing his entire understanding of their situation. He questions how she can use magic without practice, wondering if she has a special skill. She explains she needs no skills. She can use magic instantly simply because she can. He finally understands, recalling how she activated his magic to reshape the mithril. His mind formulates a theory that the fundamental laws of magic exist in nature. He concludes that his magic is activated by his mental image plus the environment. This new understanding explains why his lightning magic had previously failed to work. While he ponders this, he realizes constantly active magic may now be possible for him. Leah cheerfully announces that the food she cooked with a small flame is now ready. He takes a bite and is shocked by how delicious and perfectly seasoned it is. He asks how she seasoned it, knowing she wasn't carrying any spices. With her cheeks full, she giggles, preparing to reveal her incredible secret. She explains with a smile that she simply pulled the seasoning from the earth. A new chapter begins, heralded by an image of a confident elf woman with a great sword. In town, a group of onlookers stares with wide-eyed shock at an unbelievable sight. Kaidi gestures to a mountain of wolf carcasses, asking for his quest to be confirmed. A stunned receptionist stammers at the kill count. Over 300 red wolves. He smiles wryly, thinking to himself that he's grown accustomed to this reaction. The receptionist formally apologizes to Kaidi before changing the subject. With a serious expression, she asks if she could have a private word with Leah. Kaidi and Leah both turn towards her with expressions of mild curiosity. In an ornate office, Kaidi concludes a meeting with the guild representative. Leah suddenly appears beside him, asking what they were just discussing. He realizes with a start that he has found Leah's supposed hometown ahead of schedule. Internally, he admits it would have been harder to leave her if they had grown closer. The receptionist misunderstands, asking if Leah's parents are coming to retrieve her. She quickly apologizes, clarifying that this is unfortunately not the case. Kaidi looks on, confused, as she prepares to deliver her final, grim report. The woman states plainly that Leah's hometown cannot be found anywhere. He repeats her words in disbelief, stunned by the sudden dead end in their search. She explains the thieves' testimony was vague, and a more distant location is unlikely. She reveals a new problem. No race matching Leah's traits exists in the guild's records. Turning to the small girl, Kaidi offers her a gentle and sincere apology. Leah flinches, surprised and a little hurt by his somber and apologetic tone. He wonders aloud if she was abandoned because of her unique, unknown traits. The woman admits she doesn't know the details but insists it's a different situation. Her cryptic response only deepens his confusion as he wonders what she could mean. He acknowledges that there are indeed many strange and unexplainable things about Leah. He reviews her status in his mind, recalling her unusual elf system trait. He turns to Leah, who looks up at him, her expression one of quiet expectation. Gently, he asks if she can remember anything at all from before she was captured. Her expression becomes distant as she searches her fragmented and hazy memories. She explains she has a vague image of her home, but is certain it isn't here. He notes her mature and deliberate way of speaking is another part of her mystery. He speculates that Leah might be far older than her childlike appearance suggests. The guildswoman presents the grim final option if no one can be found to take her. She states that the only course of action left is to place Leah in an orphanage. Leah's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated terror at the mention of the word. Crying out in protest, she clings to Kata's leg, insisting she wants to stay with him. He is taken aback by her desperate outburst, calling her name in surprise. The woman comments on the difficulty an adventurer would face raising a child. Kaidi falls silent, his expression hardening as he looks down at the terrified girl. He feels that abandoning her now would betray the kindness others have shown him. In a moment of decision, he asks Leah if she wants to continue adventuring with him. He then voices his one major concern, a fight against a foe that drains all his magic. He asks Leah directly if she would be able to escape on her own in such a crisis. She looks down, unable to answer, proving his point about the potential danger. He looks at her with a soft, understanding smile, knowing a decision must be made. A quiet moment passes between the three of them as he considers the next step. He announces that for now, they will put the difficult decision on hold. To comfort her, he gently pats Leah's head, offering a reassuring touch. The woman agrees, stating he can make a final choice when he moves to another town. He tells Leah that for now he wants her to stay right by his side. He smiles warmly and promises her that he won't just leave her behind. Her face breaks into a radiant, beaming smile as she enthusiastically agrees. The scene transitions to the bright, clear morning of the following day in town. Leah bounces with energy, excitedly listing powerful monsters she wants to fight. He inwardly resolves that ensuring Leah's safety is his absolute top priority. He tells her that after their adventure, they have another important place to go. She stops her excited bouncing and looks up at him with a quizzical expression. The two of them make their way through the town streets toward their destination. A red-haired swordswoman greets them, announcing his new staff is finally ready. She asks who the little girl is, but her excitement quickly overrides her own question. Dismissing the question, she eagerly urges them to look at her masterful creation. With a flourish, she presents a massive ornate greatsword, naming it the Blade Staff. Kaidi's eyes widen in awe, exclaiming how cool the weapon's design is. Sumisa beams with pride, asking if he agrees that it's a truly impressive weapon. Leah quietly observes that the weapon's magical properties feel just like a staff. A swordswoman named Sumisa presents her creation, asking if the shape is strange despite her confidence. Her companion, Kaidi, gives the massive blade a powerful, sweeping swing as two girls watch. He expresses satisfaction with its weight, and Sumisa suggests testing its magic at a nearby training ground. From a distance, both Sumisa and Kaidi voice their shared anticipation for the weapon's true test. They arrive at a vast, barren wasteland, its rocky cliff face serving as their designated target. Kaidi assumes a ready stance, the ornate blade staff humming with latent power in his hands. Sumisa is shocked by the incredible amount of magical energy she can see flowing from him. Holding the weapon, Kaidi confirms it absorbs far more magic than his old staff ever did. He estimates the initial mana consumption for this test to be around 1 or 200 units. A massive, jagged spear of pure rock begins to form from the tip of the blade staff. With intense focus, he declares the name of his technique, Rock Spear. The magical projectile screams through the air, hurtling towards the distant cliff face with incredible speed. The spear of rock continues its trajectory, about to make a devastating impact on the target. The cliffside erupts in a cataclysmic explosion, stunning both Sumisa and a small girl named Leah. The ground shakes violently as the rock face shatters and crumbles from the magical assault. Amidst the falling debris, the three stand in the aftermath of the powerful spell's detonation. Leah exclaims at the spell's astonishing speed, while Sumisa is left utterly speechless in shock. Kaidi himself is stunned, questioning the incredible velocity of the magic he just unleashed. He realizes the staff's material dramatically changed the spell, making it too fast to aim properly. Still processing the event, he quietly wonders what that incredible display of power truly was. Sumisa approaches, demanding to know how much magic he used for that single powerful spell. She reveals the overflow alone would exhaust 5 mages, pointedly asking if he is even human. Kaidi cheerfully dismisses her concern, saying he's just a human with slightly more magic. With a bright smile, he declares that regardless of the power, it is a truly fine staff. He rests the blade staff on his shoulder, sincerely thanking Sumisa for having made it for him. Sumisa, with a slight knowing smile, seems to accept his explanation for the time being. She then recalls that the accountant from the charcoal shop was looking for him. Her expression turns serious as she mentions having something to discuss once his business is done. Kaidi's interest is piqued, wondering what the accountant might want to talk to him about. Their journey takes them back towards the town, passing by the distinct timber frame buildings. Inside an office, an older gentleman named Mias greets Kaide enthusiastically, glad to have found him. Mias beams with excitement as he announces that the coke manufacturing equipment is now complete. Kaide is shocked to hear they are already in mass production, with 10 units fully operational. Mias explains that he partnered with the Charcoal Guild to overcome a labor shortage. Kaide realizes the Charcoal Guild, or Tanjinkai, must be a very large and influential organization. Mias suggests they visit the site to see the operation, and Kaide readily agrees. They arrive at a bustling industrial complex, the air filled with the sounds of industry. The streets are filled with stout bearded dwarves hard at work, carrying beams and pushing carts. From an overhead view, the scale of the operation and the number of workers is impressive. The group walks through the busy complex, surrounded by the industrious dwarves. Kaide notes the sheer number of people, and Mias confirms they are almost all from the guild. A commanding voice calls out to Kaide from behind, getting his attention. A large, powerfully built man introduces himself as Gainta, the chairman of the Charcoal Guild. Kaide is stunned to be meeting the leader, having heard much about him already. The two formally introduce themselves, with the energetic Leah popping in to say hello. Gainta states that before any business, he must first express his sincere gratitude to Kaide. Kaide is confused, but Gainta acknowledges that he knows Kaide is not a local. The chairman explains a mysterious illness has been plaguing the mining mountain, preventing them from working. He continues, stating Kaide's coke project offered a lifeline by securing jobs for his people. Kaide connects the illness to poisonous gas and asks for more details about the sickness. Gainta describes symptoms of vomiting and headaches, similar to mana exhaustion from eating wyvern meat. Kaide notes that, while not fatal, the illness prevents the dwarves from being able to work. Gainta grimly explains their only countermeasure is to stay away, drastically reducing their output. Kaide understands the gravity of the situation, realizing it means a total shutdown for the guild. He suspects a poisonous gas is the cause, and believes his appraisal skill might reveal more. He realizes solving this mystery would ensure a stable workforce for his coke business. Getting Gainta's attention, he prepares to make an offer that will help them both. With a confident smile, Kaidi announces that he will investigate the illness himself. With their new mission set, they take off at incredible speed, the sound echoing. Kaidi and Leah soar through the air, their capes billowing as they head towards the mountain. They move in perfect sync, running and flying through the rugged terrain with ease. Kaidi notes to himself that Leah flies as if it were the most natural thing in the world. He explains their speed will allow for a quick escape if they encounter any trouble. He spots the entrance to the mine, where a sign warns of the charcoal sickness. Entering the dark mine, Kaidi asks Leah to let him know if she spots any monsters. Leah admits she dislikes the confining walls but promises to do her very best. Kaidi muses that he might be better suited for exploring the narrow tunnels than she is. He continues to speak, his voice echoing slightly in the confined space of the mine. Deeper inside, he consults a glowing tablet while Leah floats nearby, illuminating the path. He stops abruptly, his attention fixed on the ground, having noticed something unusual. He asks Leah if she can sense anything beneath the floor at their current location. She confirms a strong energy from below, surprised he could tell how strong it was. Kaidi admits that without his specialized map, he would have missed it completely. He explains there is a 30-centimeter space below them, but he can't see what's inside. He suggests they dig a little to investigate, and Leah cheerfully agrees to the plan. Kaidi unleashes a burst of power, shattering the floor while Leah shields them from debris. The ground explodes outwards as his magic tears a hole into the chasm below. Leah notes that the ground suddenly became incredibly hard just before it broke. She realizes with a start that this is not ordinary ground they are standing on. Peering into the chasm, they see a vast hidden cavern filled with ancient structures. Kaidi wonders if they've found ancient ruins, while Leah thinks even his magic couldn't break the walls. He looks into the chasm, a determined glint appearing in his eyes. Her doubt only makes him more eager to test the strength of the ancient walls. He tells Leah to step back, preparing to unleash a powerful spell to test his theory. He gathers a massive amount of energy, preparing for a powerful magical assault. 10 minutes later, Leah watches with a worried expression, sensing the immense power he's gathered. A swirling vortex of black energy and lightning crackles around him as he prepares his spell. He reflects that this is the first time he's used magic of this scale in front of Leah. With a confident cry, he unleashes his pressure magic at the ancient wall. The spell carves a massive, perfectly rectangular doorway into the face of the stone cliff. His confidence shatters as he realizes the powerful blast did absolutely nothing to the wall. Leah runs up to the wall, confirming that it is indeed incredibly hard, just as she said. His hand glows as he touches the wall, confirming it is completely unscathed by his attack. Suddenly, Leah's eyes widen in terror, and she screams a desperate warning for him to watch out. The ceiling of the cavern above them shatters and collapses in a cascade of rock. Leah falls into the abyss, her arms flailing as she screams Katie's name in terror. Reacting instantly, he leaps after her, catching her in a protective embrace as they fall. She struggles, warning that the overload will cause them both to fall to their doom. He tells her to let go of his hand, promising he will figure out a way to land. Trusting him, she releases her grip and they separate in midair, plummeting into the darkness. Amidst a cascade of crumbling rock, the young adventurer plummets into a dark chasm. His mind races, calculating the 15-meter drop and his odds of survival with magic. Before impact, he absorbs the falling rocks into his item box to clear his path. The countdown ends as he slams into the cavern floor with tremendous, echoing force. A cloud of dust settles, revealing him standing unharmed in the center of a crater. A confident smirk appears as he realizes he can accomplish such feats when necessary. His thoughts immediately turn to his companion as he urgently calls out her name, Kaidi. He looks up to see the other Kaidi floating down gently, cushioned by her own magic. Landing gracefully, she confirms she is fine and expresses her gratitude for his actions. Noting the oppressive darkness, he asks the small girl Leah if she can illuminate the area. Leah happily agrees, creating a brilliant orb of light that banishes the darkness around them. He takes a moment to process the sudden, magical illumination of their surroundings. The light reveals a vast, artificial chamber littered with the remains of forgotten machines. An impossibly high, curved wall stretches up into the darkness, sealing them in. He observes the scene, commenting on how inorganic and strange the place feels. The other Kaidi looks around, wondering if they have fallen into some kind of building. She admits she doesn't know what's going on, though the place feels deeply strange. He has a sudden realization, asking if this is the source of the demonic essence. He muses that he has unexpectedly found the answer to their investigation. A sly grin appears as he realizes his simple investigation has become something more. His thoughts turn to escape as he looks up at the distant hole in the ceiling. He taps his gloved fingers, deep in thought about how they will get out. He asks Leah if she can fly them out, but she states it's impossible. A diagram illustrates that her flight magic is not suited for such high altitudes. An idea sparks, and he wonders if he could use that same magic himself. The other Kaidi immediately warns him to stop, fearing his poor control would be fatal. Deciding flight is not an option, he resolves to search for another exit. Leah, full of bravado, declares she wants to fight, but he reminds her they are investigating. He has a new thought, realizing something he had noticed earlier about their location. He stops, a flicker of understanding crossing his face as he pieces together a puzzle. He gestures to the rubble around them, beginning to explain his theory. The cavern's ceiling, he notes, seems to have a strange curvature to it. He asks his companion if it feels like they have simply come full circle. He theorizes they are in a donut-shaped space, referencing a small mental map. The other Kaidi agrees with his theory, but adds she saw one strange spot. His expression shows he remembers what she is talking about. Following her lead, they walk across the vast floor toward the strange anomaly. He exclaims that he's found it, recognizing a door that doesn't match the wall. He deduces the other side is seamless, which is why his earlier magic failed. His gaze is drawn to a faint trace on the floor near the hidden entrance. He wonders aloud if the door might open normally, as Leah questions this possibility. He notes it was recently opened and urges caution as something might happen. The massive door slides open with a whoosh, much to his surprise and Leah's. He cautiously touches his chin, a bead of sweat on his face as he peers inside. Beyond the door, they see a grand pillared hallway with hovering objects. The objects are revealed to be small, crystalline, dragonfly-like automatons. One of the constructs silently hovers, its sharp geometric form menacing. The automatons suddenly coalesce, forming a much larger, intimidating shape. He asks if it's a monster, instinctively pulling Leah behind him for protection. The construct dissolves into 5 glowing motes of light before vanishing completely. The crystalline plates that formed its body clatter uselessly onto the stone floor. He stares in confusion, wondering if the creature just fell apart on its own. In the distance, he sees more of the dragonfly constructs engaging his companions. The automatons swarm around the other Kaidi, ready to attack. He declares that breaking through is their top priority and calls out his attack. In a flash of steel, he shatters the crystalline foes with a single powerful swing. With the immediate threat gone, he turns to Leah and asks if she is all right. He smiles, relieved she's uninjured, and asks about the magic needles he saw. Leah clarifies that the power he felt was his own, not hers. She explains that she gets blown away just by being near his immense power. He finds her explanation strange, and she playfully asks if he's the odd one. She points out that their current situation is undeniably strange. She gestures to the debris, asking if he wants to build a maid from it. The bizarre suggestion leaves him completely and utterly bewildered. He consults a book, identifying the flying eyes and a magic barrier door. He now understands they are in ancient ruins, which makes them intruders. He notes with concern that the other side of the door is impossible to scout. Standing before the impassable door, he wonders what monsters lurk beyond. He suggests turning back, but Leah insists they cannot give up yet. They begin to search the adjacent rooms, finding them barren and empty. Peering into another doorway, they find nothing but dust and silence. He maintains a focused expression, determined to find a way forward. He confirms they have now checked every room in the immediate area. He concludes that the 8 new rooms they found were completely empty. Despite the security tools, he notes the lack of an exit or control room. He wonders aloud if this entire research facility has been abandoned. His expression is thoughtful as he considers their next move. Undeterred, he tells Leah they will press forward, and she readily agrees. Their persistence leads them to a narrow, spiraling staircase descending into darkness. He stops short, surprised by the sudden discovery of a new path. He reads the ominous, glowing warning on the wall about eliminating intruders. A close-up reveals the ancient, unfamiliar runes of the threatening message. He notes the increased danger, while Leah declares she will defeat any foe. He drinks a potion, reminding her their primary goal is escape, not combat. With no other path, they agree to proceed cautiously into the darkness below. He raises his shield, bracing for an attack as they step into the new chamber. The door opens into a vast new area, their figures small against the scale. They are immediately ambushed by more flying eyes, and he raises his shield to defend. He deflects a barrage of energy projectiles, his cape whipping from the impacts. He is shocked that the attack hit him when previous ones were too weak. Leah shouts that he's wrong, pointing out a different, greater threat is present. All around them, new and different mechanical enemies begin to materialize. A swarm of insect-like machines with buzzing, crystalline wings appears. A pack of sleek, aggressive mechanical wolves takes a ready stance. He identifies the new mechanical wolves and multicolored flying eyes. He looks up, sensing an even greater presence joining the battle. A colossal serpentine stone creature emerges, dwarfing all other constructs. He stares in shock at the massive flying snake, a new and terrifying foe. He is overwhelmed by the creature's sheer size and powerful aura. He realizes with dawning horror that this must be the boss of the ruins. Crystalline automatons, known as flying eyes, materialize and prepare to launch an attack. Seeing the new threat, Katie yells a desperate warning to Leah to run. As they flee, Leah pleads with Kaide to use his rock spear spell. Kaide's armored boots kick up stone debris as he sprints from the assault. A colossal stone serpent looms over a chamber, now filled with mechanical foes. Leah's expression hardens with intense concentration as she prepares to fight back. She unleashes a powerful rock spear spell at the advancing mechanical wolves. To her shock, her magic proves completely ineffective against the creature's armor. Kaide is stunned, realizing that magic doesn't work on these new enemies. He shouts in alarm as one of the mechanical wolves breaks through their defense. The silent mechanical wolf closes in, its metallic form sleek and menacing. Finding their silent advance creepy, Kaide resolves to use his blade instead. With a powerful swing, he brings his massive and ornate sword down. The blade connects with the creature's armored hide, creating a shower of sparks. He feels the immense weight and resistance of the enemy's tough armor plating. Despite the incredible resistance, his powerful blow begins to cleave the automaton. He completes the mighty swing, cutting the mechanical wolf cleanly in two. Severed parts of the automaton crash lifelessly onto the hard stone floor. A confident smirk appears as he notes his blade edge was able to cut it. He observes his blade did little damage, sensing a hidden trick to the metal. His eyes narrow with focus as he activates his appraisal skill to analyze it. The analysis reveals its military-grade anti-magic steel that nullifies magic. He understands that all the magical tools in the room share this defense. Leah asks for his spear, proposing a new plan to overcome their sheer numbers. Now airborne, Leah launches a barrage of small, star-shaped energy projectiles. Below, Kaide deftly dodges massive shards of stone raining down from the chaos. He watches his partner's assault, noting she's quickly learning to hunt them. His attention is drawn back to the colossal stone serpent, the real threat. The massive golem begins its descent, its long stone body coiling downward. Sensing the imminent danger, he screams a desperate warning for Leah to jump. The serpent's enormous head smashes into the floor, narrowly missing them. A powerful shockwave radiates outwards, shattering the stone ground into a crater. They leap clear of the devastating impact, landing a safe distance away. He feels an immense pressure from the golem, which attacks indiscriminately. Leah cries out the serpent's name, Kaide, in a mix of fear and recognition. The serpent's enormous head looms amidst the rubble, preparing to strike again. Its stone body smashes through the architecture of the ancient, forgotten ruins. Kaide's face contorts in panic as he realizes the gravity of their situation. He makes a snap decision, yelling for them to retreat back to the stairwell. Together, they sprint down a long, narrow corridor, fleeing for their lives. Their urgent footsteps echo against the cold stone walls as they run. A massive, blade-like appendage from the serpent slices through the air behind them. The brutal attack carves a deep gash in the corridor, missing them by inches. The serpent's head smashes through the walls, relentlessly pursuing the pair. A massive section of the serpent's body slams down directly in front of them. Leah cries out Katie's name in terror as she looks back at him. Kaide's face is a mask of grim frustration, muttering that this is not good. Their only escape route is now completely blocked by the golem's massive body. The serpent's crystalline form continues to shift and prepare another attack. Mechanical wolves advance, their metallic forms sleek and ready for combat. The serpent's head looms, its form intricate, angular, and deeply menacing. With no escape, he declares with steely resolve that they now have to fight. He strategizes, noting his sword cannot reach the golem's elevated head. Leah believes her magic could work, but warns that the serpent is too durable. Seeing Leah's wing-like constructs, he gets an idea for a focused, shattering blow. She agrees to use her wings to focus a single, powerful fireball attack. He accepts the plan, preparing to concentrate all his magic for the assault. He tells Leah to give him the signal when the gathered power is sufficient. His ornate sword begins to glow with an immense concentration of magical energy. The beautiful blade crackles with power as he pours his mana into it. Leah shouts from above that she is ready, and he confirms, unleashing the spell. He notes the massive mana cost of 700 units for this powerful attack. A special large fireball screams through the air toward the stone serpent. The serpent's head is completely engulfed in the massive fiery explosion. Leah shouts in shock as the blast seemingly scatters the golem's stone head. The powerful impact sends shockwaves and debris flying through the chamber. The entire chamber is illuminated by the cataclysmic detonation of their spell. The fiery vortex consumes the target in a chaotic display of raw power. Kaede stares, wide-eyed and breathless, at the result of their combined attack. The serpent emerges, transformed and unharmed, with new wing-like structures. Kaide's eyes narrow, his expression shifting from hope to utter disbelief. He curses in frustration, unable to believe the spell was not enough. He and Leah look on, their faces etched with weary, frustrated disbelief. He asks if she can perform the same kind of focused attack once more. He laments that the fine control needed for a new plan is beyond him. Leah boldly proposes they amplify the power 20 times their last attempt. With grim resolve, he accepts her dangerous plan and tells her to hold on. The newly evolved serpent looms over them as they prepare their next move. Leah gathers magical energy, preparing her part of the new coordinated assault. Kaede raises his shield, deflecting an unseen attack from the rampaging golem. A swirling vortex of dark, feather-like magic manifests between the two partners. The dark energy scours the chamber, obliterating the lesser magical beasts. The massive cloud of magic expands, a storm of destructive, controlled power. His face is a mask of intense concentration, his gaze fixed on their foe. He notes they've used half their magic, clearing all but the main serpent. Their new tactic allows them to attack and evade their enemies simultaneously. Leah exclaims with renewed confidence that this new strategy should work. Suddenly, he clutches his chest, confused by a strange rumbling sensation. He looks around the chamber, trying to pinpoint the source of the vibration. A flicker of deep unease crosses his face as he senses something is wrong. He shouts in alarm, pointing out the deep cracks spreading across the ceiling. He realizes the serpent's immense weight is causing the ceiling to collapse. Leah asks if he can amplify her magic tenfold to perform a miracle. He shouts back that it's impossible, as they don't have enough time. He raises his shield, bracing for the inevitable, catastrophic collapse. He asks Leah if she is all right, and she confirms that she is fine. Her expression is one of terror, but she tries to remain strong. His own eyes are wide with panic as the ceiling finally gives way. A colossal mass of rock crashes down, obliterating the path behind them. Leah panics, but Kaede yells at her not to look and just keep running. Instinctively, the adventurer pulls his companion behind his shield, yelling for her to hold on. With their path destroyed, he declares they must press forward, and she firmly agrees. A monstrous stone tentacle suddenly lashes out from the dust, narrowly missing their position. They begin a desperate sprint down a long, impossibly straight and featureless stone corridor. The deafening roar of their pursuer echoes relentlessly behind them as they continue to flee. Realization dawns on him. The path offers no side passages, trapping them in a straight line. His last desperate hope is for a staircase leading down into the earth.